makeup is here. But I'm glad you can see Patrick Fred is getting the own air. Yeah, very
No,
pretty.
called Do I look beautiful now?
Hey, so Bill, tell me about that nightie you talked about.
I'm not sure what you're talking about, Jim.
With Bill Gunter, Patrick Perez, and Jen Jensen.
I'm really impressed that you just powered through while all of that was going on and just kept doing the show like nothing was happening.
I feel pretty, oh so pretty.
On your home of the Gamecocks.
How about some Gamecocks?
107.5 The Game.
Welcome in. Monday morning Super Bowl week. Get a little fired up. Rams, Bengals from SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. Coming up this coming weekend, we will start getting you prepared for the Super Bowl, but a lot happening this past weekend in the world of sports. It was a big Olympics weekend. I got to admit, Patrick, the numbers for Friday, according to a couple different outlets, were significantly down from the 2018 Winter Olympics. Yeah. It was significantly down, but I got to admit, I was not one of those people. I was keeping up with the Olympics. I watched a lot of it. My daughter is 12 years old, and she was kind of hanging out on the couch, and we watched a lot of it this weekend. Whether it was last night was moguls. Skiing. Yep. The American took second place there in that. We watched a lot of the luge, which is just an interesting, they were talking about the injuries that some of the people had sustained that they were coming back from that are participating in this Olympics. One guy, he had been going down the luge a couple years ago, and there was a gate that was open on the luge, and I guess was like laying on the track, and he tried to jump it, and suffered basically a broken kneecap and ribs and everything. Took him several months to heal up from that. He was back participating. I was probably more into the Winter Olympics this weekend than I've been in the last few years, and that was just part of.
There hasn't been one in the last few years.
I meant the last few times, I guess, is what I should say. The last few Olympics. Yeah, it's true.
It's kind of the thing about the Olympics.
Yeah.
They only happen every year.
Yeah, it's tough to.
Do you think the numbers were down because we just had another Olympics?
Possibly. It wasn't. I don't know if there's a star we're latching on to.
We're not. Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe the numbers will be huge when Shaun White does his last event. I mean, he did announce he's 35. We assumed it was his last Olympics, but I'm pretty sure, if I remember right from Friday, it's Tuesday, tomorrow night at like 8 or something like that. Or maybe it's 11. Might be late. And then Thursday's the medaling. Like it's the preliminary round on Tuesday, and then the medal round is Thursday. So maybe Thursday night when Shaun White's doing his last ever Olympic event, the numbers will be huge.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I got into it a little bit. That was actually a lot of my focus. That obviously yesterday the AT&T Pebble Beach. We're gearing up for our virtual golf tournament later this morning. We'll play with Courtney Levitt and Matt Jurgensen over at Main Street for driving down Main. So I was into the AT&T Pebble Beach yesterday, which was a pretty good finish. Jordan Spieth had all the opportunities in the world to give himself his 14th win on the PGA Tour, and he was not able to pull that out. Instead, Tom Hoge rallies with a very good back nine and wins that.
Tom Hoge.
That's the guy who won it.
What did Harold Varner win?
He won the tournament out.
There's two different tournaments going on right now.
Yeah, one of them was a World Golf Tournament. The one that Harold Varner won. I don't remember the official.
All I saw from this weekend, Tom Hoge's a heck of a name too.
It is, yes.
That guy. The only thing I saw was Harold Varner with a walk off, and then Jordan Spieth hitting a ball off the edge of the mountain.
Yes,
absurd.
Varner won the Saudi International tournament. It was kind of a part of a worldwide golf tournament they're trying to put on worldwide golf tour. So he defeated Bubba Watson. But I didn't get into that. Watched yesterday was a big. I had kind of a free day yesterday. Saturday was filled with soccer and basketball for my son, so there wasn't a whole lot, which meant maybe in a good way because we had soccer at 12, basketball at 2, and soccer at 4:30. Meant I was spared watching South Carolina's performance. I was getting updates throughout the afternoon. Obviously, they tipped off at 1 o'clock, and was getting updates. And I got to admit, we went to start the basketball game, Patrick, at 2 o'clock, and a buddy of mine's keeping me updated and sending me some text about what's going on. I was listening a little bit as we were driving from soccer to basketball on Saturday, and South Carolina's kind of hanging around. It's 33-29. Sounded great on the radio. Like, the crowd was into it. The Gamecocks are hanging around. We play our basketball game. Took about an hour and 10 minutes, hour and 15 minutes. We win our game. I look at my phone and I see South Carolina has lost 81-57. And given that I knew they were down 4 going into halftime, I was pretty amazed until I started reading about what happened and how Tennessee just cruises away from South Carolina there on Saturday. And we'll get into that a little bit this morning because of the ramifications, both for the fan base and for what I read from Kerry Rich on thebigspur.com, what I heard from Frank Martin in the post game, talking about his particular post players, and even Tennessee just basically kind of taking the soul from South Carolina over the final 10 minutes of that ball game. And not really a good situation now with maybe one of, if not the hottest teams coming into Colonial Life Arena on Tuesday night. So we'll get into that as well. And then correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't keep up with this stuff. Today over at Super Bowl, at the Super Bowl will be Media Day. Is today officially Media Day?
I don't know if if it's officially Media Day. It's opening night now.
Okay.
They've changed it, which I hate. I liked Media Day the way it used to be. But now it's this big extravagant, I think the whole team just kind of comes out and gets announced as a team, and then they kind of break off a little bit. But it's not like it used to be where each team gets an hour and the big players get podiums and then everybody else is wandering around the crowd. I used to really like that, but I'm not sure what exactly this entails. But yeah, it is officially Super Bowl opening night.
So we've got that, and that was preceded yesterday by the Pro Bowl. And apparently it might have been the worst sporting event ever in the history of any sporting event that has taken place, because the Twitter reaction to the Pro Bowl was absolutely, completely, 100% negative on the Pro Bowl. This event has to be really part of it's for the safety of the players. Because we talked about this last week. The Pro Bowl, there's no, I know that they were playing a almost touch.
It wasn't almost touch. It was.
Yeah,
it was
It was
embarrassing.
two-hand touch, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was embarrassing to watch.
And that's the point. Like, I get it. The point on this is that you can go 50% in a NBA All-Star game or a basketball All-Star game and pretty much preserve yourself and not get injured. You can go 50% in the Major League Baseball All-Star game and not get injured. I will admit I did not watch any of the NHL All-Star game. I know they had the skills competition one night because they actually did some really cool things.
You saw the dodgeball thing?
Yeah, they actually did some really cool things with the NHL. I didn't watch any of it, but I just watching the highlights yesterday. So, but I guess to go back to your point, I don't know what you do, because the NFL is great in so many different areas, and this is like a giant wart that sticks out right above your nose to where everybody sees it, because it's just a brutal event to watch. I mean, you got Mac Jones I did see the hot clip yesterday of Mac Jones taking the final snap and taking a knee, and there's like players with their helmets off already just hanging out on the field, like, catching up with one another. I don't know if you watched any of that. I'd be kind of fascinated to hear, because, man, what a poor event from what I can understand from everybody that watched it. I will admit, Jen, I flipped over the Bush Clash at Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. I didn't know what to make of that. I'll get your take on that later, because I wasn't sure how to exactly, as a person who watches NASCAR, but is your average fan that only tunes in because we make picks on it every week. Mm-hmm. The track was very short. It was a very interesting, weird kind of event that was like, it was like, all right, it is literally driving in a circle and they can never get going.
It's just short track racing is what it amounts to.
Okay.
I mean, that's it. It's just very different. I can't wait for, regular racing to come on, more of the long form and all that, and see more pit stops and stuff, because we got the one leg. I'll get into that later. But it was fun. I thought it was fun.
Good. Yeah. So a lot to get into this morning as we will start setting you up for the Super Bowl. We will recap the weekend that was, get into the week that will be. We got some guests this morning coming up at 7:30 this morning. John Whittle of thebigspur.com. We'll talk about that basketball game and get his take on the situation for South Carolina, who is now 13-9 on the season. They fall to 4-6 in conference play. And Patrick, we'll get into that a little bit in the next segment with our takes, but certainly right now, a very difficult situation down there. Not so much for postseason play, but where South Carolina basketball is at this point in time with Frank Martin, not just in this season, but as a program as whole, especially when you look at Kentucky coming into Colonial Life Arena on Tuesday night, a game at Georgia, followed by a game at Mississippi, followed by a game versus LSU over the next 4. So we'll get into that. John Whittle will also talk about some South Carolina baseball. We're less than 2 weeks away from first pitch for the Gamecocks. There was scrimmages over the weekend. He was in attendance. He'll be able to break down some of that. And then coming up at 8:05 this morning, Patrick, I got to say, maybe the biggest shocker of the weekend that I was following is that Brian Harsin is still employed. As we sit here at 6:12 on Monday morning, this could actually change even before Brian Matthews with the Auburn rival site comes on. Brian Harsin, at least at the moment, still employed by the University of Auburn.
Yeah, so what actually happened on Friday? There was a meeting. The meeting did take place.
The Board of Trustees meeting, from what I've read, did take place. We'll catch up with Brian Matthews. We've had him on before.
It just kind of, I don't know if everyone was still talking about it over the weekend. I just kind of forgot about it. And then I saw his name popping up again last night. There was a lot more discussion last night. A bunch of articles came out, and I don't know. They're just the longer they let this linger, the worse it's going to look, though.
Yeah.
Whether they keep it, like they're going to make it get to the point where you're embarrassing your program by keeping him.
Well, they've pretty much already embarrassed their program, but we're going to get into that coming up later on this morning. Is again set to be joined by Brian Matthews of Auburn, Rivals website there coming up around 8:05. So John Whittle at 7:30, Brian Matthews at 8:05. That is our lineup for today. If you want to join us, 803-404-6100 is how you can join us. Andy weighs in on the text line and says, I go to most home games, and it was very sad what transpired in the second half. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Frank has molded players into players before, but I've laid some of these guys, just don't get it. Still in Frank's corner, but I can't look good. And yes, I'm afraid for Tuesday night. However, we usually play Kentucky better in Tennessee. So we'll see. We will talk more about that throughout the morning. Again, if you want to weigh in on the text line, 803-404-6100. You can also, as always, join us on the Buford Lending live stream. Anthony, RL, Cyburn, Lee, DC, Robin, Decor, all up and at it with us this morning. You can go and be a part of that as well. Go to youtube.com and you can search and subscribe to the Buford Lending live stream at our YouTube page, 1075 The Game. So a lot of ways to be involved in the program this morning, and we'll get plenty of hot takes because, Patrick, I know you're fired up this week. We'll also get Patrick's final takes from the Senior Bowl, J.J. Enagbare and his performance, what Patrick thought about that, if there was any other players that helped their stock over the weekend down in Mobile, Alabama, as the Senior Bowl took place. So it was a busy weekend in terms of sports. Again, I spent more time on the Olympics than I probably have in a while, both some figure skating, some luge, some mogul skiing last night. It was all a lot going on.
I watched a little of I didn't get to see some of the luge yesterday. I was really disappointed, but I did watch some of the freestyle women's skiing last night.
Mhm.
Whoa, that's insane. They said some of the pitches, as far as, like the angles at which they're going down and then they have to land, the pitch is almost more than like Talladega as far as the banking is concerned. It's like, that's just nuts.
Yeah, I don't know the exact titles of all the events that I watched, but there was some women's, I guess, I don't know, maybe you'd say freestyle skiing where they have to go down. Patrick, they go down the hill, but they've got to weave in and out around the flags, and it's a race. It's who can get down there faster, basically.
Yeah.
The fastest without it's not so much.
Is that slalom?
Might be. I'm not sure, but that was actually live because I'm watching it at like 7:30, and they're replaying Saturday nights or Saturday's events, and then at about 8:15 it was 9:30ish out in Beijing, and so they flipped over to what would be today's events, and so they were showing maybe the slalom skiing, and so I was getting into that a little bit. So all in all, it's interesting. It's interesting. I'll tell you what, given that I will probably never in my life go to China. I mean, just it's one of those places I've kind of
Not anymore.
yeah, I will never venture over there to like see. Looking at some of the footage, like as they were doing that in the mountains and everything, just very interesting. Looking at the terrain and the area around.
It was also interesting to see the nuclear reactors right next to where their skiing stuff is. Like, oh, okay, but we were talking, maybe it had to do with like the water from that, and then maybe that's helping to create the snow for the
Yeah.
I have no idea, but I just thought, oh, that's kind of an interesting backdrop.
So, yeah, there was a lot there with the Olympics we'll continue to get into. If you're out and about this morning as you get up, stay safe. Jen, Patrick, I don't know for y'all. It was not nice coming in.
No, it was not.
It's raining. It's really cold. It was actually just one of those mornings that seems darker than it really is. Seems like the brights didn't really help quite as much. So if you're out there, you're getting the kids up, heading off to school.
It was a nice weekend, though.
It was cold.
It wasn't that cold.
Hey, I was out at 2 soccer games, and I was out at a third soccer game yesterday at 9 a.m.
I sat outside at a brewery for like 2 hours on Saturday because it was so nice out. It was not chilly.
I went to actually a Bar 3 event yesterday where we were outside working out and did sumo squats and s'mores.
Maybe just where I was at, it was really
It's
good.
especially cold where Bill is.
Yeah. It was really good. 803-404-6100. How you can join us. Let's get out to the Love Chevy phone lines. The man who said it would be all right, who just predicted win after win after win, who told us everything was going to be perfect. Gamecock Larry is up first.
He actually told Jen that he really enjoyed the Pro Bowl this weekend.
Really?
He said that off the air to Jen. Yeah.
Okay, you go with that.
Gamecock Larry, how'd you like the Pro Bowl?
Good morning, Bill, Patrick, and Jennifer. I tell you, I'm going to give you my thoughts and my thinking on the basketball team. I usually listen to it on the radio because it's at night and I'm laying down listening to it. I don't watch it on TV. But I tell you, I watched that game Saturday on TV, and man, I tell you what, it was disappointing to see our team play that way. But Tennessee was hitting them threes. They was hitting everything they were shooting. But my thoughts is I think that it would be, that I think what's going to happen, I think Frank Morton will step down at the end of the season because a lot of the so-called Gamecock fans didn't like his hire when they first got him because they didn't like his style of coaching. But I think it's best for Frank to step down. I mean, I'm not calling for him to step down, but I think it's best for Frank's benefit, not for the Gamecocks' benefit, because, like I say, the head coach is responsible for his program. But the head coach can't shoot, can't dribble, can't pass, can't play defense for the men for the players he put on the court. The players has got to do that. But I think it's best. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I guess I better go ahead and hang up before I say something wrong, and old Bill might cut me off. But that's all right. I'm still gonna follow basketball, but I'm gonna look forward to baseball. 10 days for first pitch. I think it's 10. No, yeah, about 8 or 10, about 12 maybe. But that's about all I got to say. Been up since 4 o'clock watching the replay of the North Carolina, South Carolina football team. Now we're going to have to go ahead and get us a beamer on the basketball team. I don't know who we can get, but we should get someone. Go Gamecocks. All the way, Gamecocks. Cincinnati Bengals by 4. Predict the score next Friday.
This Friday.
This
Friday. This Friday. Yeah.
Go Gamecocks. I put Cincinnati will win by 4, but let me think it over a little bit because I ain't been watching the NFL in about 10 or 12, 15 years. So I got to take my time on this one, but they will win by 4, and it might be more. Go Bengals. Go Bengals. Joko. Smoking that cigar. That's all right. Talk to you later, all my 107.5 fans. Oh, Root Hog called me this morning. I didn't answer because he got some trash to talk about Frank Morton. And I don't want nobody to talk trash about him, but I ain't talking trash about him. I'm just stating the truth. It's best for Frank himself to step down at the end of the year. Go Gamecocks.
All
All
right,
right.
there you go. Yeah,
Gamecocks let you thank his fans at the end of that.
He thanked a bunch
I
of
think he
people.
thanked his
He
fans
did.
after that.
I was impressed.
Thanked his fans.
He knows.
Thanked everybody. Yeah, so it's
He started off really sad. He said he had to wake up at 4 a.m. just to feel something again so he could watch the Duke's Mayo Bowl back over, and ended up
worked his
thanking
way
the
up
fans,
there.
yeah.
Worked his way up. Not good for the Cincinnati Bengals though that he's called them by 4. Everybody that's in Cincinnati Nation right now, feeling a little more concerned about what's going on. 803-404-6100. That's how you can join us this morning if you want to weigh in. I see several of you doing that on the on the text line. Richard saying Frank is smart. He's definitely got Carolina in a bad situation after this year, but Tanner needs to start looking now. So we know where a lot of people stand with this basketball team, and certainly we will continue to discuss that this morning, give our thoughts, because, yes, kind of as Richard says, it's more of a big picture thing now with South Carolina basketball with just a couple weeks left here in the 2021-2022 season. We'll talk about that. We'll get into some more Super Bowl stuff for the coming weekend, a little bit of Olympics, plenty to talk about this morning. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
This is Gamecock basketball head coach Frank Martin, and you're listening to 107.5 The Game, WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia.
It is cold today. Actually, it's like low 40s and rainy. So you're probably not thinking about jumping into your pool, but that time is just around the corner. Actually, it's going to start getting into the 60s over the next several weeks. And then who knows, it'll be spring and summer, and that pool in your backyard will be ready to be used if it's clean. And if it's not clean, then you're going to be missing great opportunities to spend quality family fun time together. So make sure that pool of yours in the backyard is ready to be used. Call Corley Pool Solutions today, 803-445-8109. Flat rate pricing, including all the chemicals. A weekly visit from Tracy Corley, who has over 20 years of experience in the industry, will keep that pool looking beautiful. It'll keep it looking ready to be used when you want to come home after a hard day of work and do a fantastic cannonball into the pool, relax, and enjoy some family time. 803-445-8109. Again, that is flat rate pricing, including all the chemicals. Tracy Corley himself will be there to make sure your pool is maintained and ready to be used. That is personal customer service that stands out from Corley Pool Solutions. 803-445-8109. That's Corley Pool Solutions.
107.5 The Game traffic from the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center. Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. shepherdsglass.com.
It is a sloppy start to your morning. Already have a few accidents out there. I-20 eastbound at Highway 378. Also, I-26 eastbound at the Valentine exit. That's exit 101. And Platte Springs Road at South Lake Drive. An accident reported there as well. And it's going to be kind of messy today. Some rain throughout the Midlands. 45 is the high, an overnight low of 35. Tomorrow we do warm up, though, and we dry out a bit. 57 for the high. It should be up to 64 on Wednesday.
He started off weak. He started weak, but he quickly changed that. Just had to ramp up. Oh. Hold on. What we are talking about here on Monday, February 7th, 6:30 a.m. Certainly a lot going on nationally, but locally, South Carolina basketball over the weekend. 81-57 loss at the hands of Tennessee, and it was a atrocious second half for the Gamecocks that created that, Patrick, as the first half went well, 33-29. The Gamecocks are in the ball game. Crowd, very good crowd. Good kudos to the fans for turning out, providing the support. Was a good atmosphere there. You could hear it coming through the radio. South Carolina was in the game 33-29, but the second half goes absolutely sideways. The Gamecocks get outscored 48-28 over the final 20 minutes of the ball game, and they lose 81-57 to drop to 13-9 on the season, 4-6 in the SEC. It was another game in which South Carolina really struggled to muster anything from the field. 17 of 54 from the field. You get very little there. James Reese, just 2 of 6. He was the guy that we talked about, had to give you stuff. 2 of 6, just 5 points on the afternoon. Eric Stevenson, not bad. 3 of 7. All 3 shots were 3-pointers. He had 4 free throws, had 13. Devin Carter hit 6 of 8 from the foul line. That's where the majority of his scoring came from, as he finished with 13. He was 3 of 10 from the field. But Patrick, you and I've talked about it, and I had kind of praised, maybe way too early, but I had praised Wildens Levesque over the last few days, talking about his performance and what he was giving you. Frank Martin talking about his post players afterwards and just how atrocious they were. They don't rebound. He said they don't set screens. They don't make shots. They basically don't do anything that's basketball related that you need to do at even the lowest levels of basketball, let alone the SEC level. And Wildens Levesque on Saturday, 0 of 2 from the field, no points. He had just 1 block. He had 5 rebounds. That's not bad, but you get very little from any other post player. And South Carolina just gets absolutely dominated in the post. 22 points in the post for the Gamecocks. Only 14 for Tennessee, but it was Josiah Jordan James, the former Porter-Gaud native out of Charleston, who played 36 minutes, scored 20 points, 7 of 14, had a lot of family in the building, and they absolutely have no problem with the Gamecocks rolling to an 81-57 victory.
I didn't have problems with the Gamecocks either time. I mean, we kind of said it's okay. It is what it is. Early in the season, when you go to Knoxville and lose by 20 there, it wasn't ideal. We weren't happy with it, but it was what it was. You knew they were a better team, and South Carolina was still in a pretty good spot by then. Now, later in the season, you're in a have-to-have-it situation. You really were in a have-to-have-it situation for almost every game left on the schedule, and you lose by even worse. So 2 games against Tennessee, you lose by a combined 44 points, just absolutely dominated. And there's very, very, very little to point to that the Gamecocks did well this weekend. I mean, they didn't beat Tennessee in any statistical category. When you shoot 30% from the field, 31% from the field, 26 from 3, you get out rebounded. It was really ugly. I mean, South Carolina kind of kept them off the line. Only 14 attempts for Tennessee. South Carolina was there 21 times, but you just got nothing out of your front court, and you don't want to be like mean, but I just don't think there's very much talent there. I mean, you got bodies, you got big bodies, but I just don't think there's very much talent there, and I really don't know where else there is to go for this team. It felt like that was kind of the last straw for all the fans that were holding on. When your back's against the wall and you're at home in front of a home crowd against a team that already kicked your butt one time, you hope for a better uh just better performance overall, and it was worse. You held on for 1 half, but that's kind of been the story of the season. You can play 1 good half against anybody, and then the second half you just get absolutely destroyed. And yeah, losing by, what was it, 20 in the second half alone. It's just pretty brutal. And I think anyone that was still hanging on for dear life, saying, we'll go on a little run here against some good teams, we always play up to the competition, that's gone now. There's going to be no postseason basketball for this team.
It's hard to envision it at this point in time to like you said, to pull anything positive out of this. You look down the remainder of the schedule. Kentucky on on Tuesday night, 7 p.m. That game again at Colonial Life Arena. You can hear it right here on 107.5 The Game. Then a winnable game against Georgia next Saturday on the road in Athens. Although Georgia's playing better, they beat Alabama just a few weeks ago and really probably should have beaten Auburn, the number 1 team in the country, over the weekend. So we say a winnable game, but quite frankly, the way Georgia's playing, especially at home, maybe not so much. Mississippi next Tuesday. That's followed by a home game against LSU. followed up by a home game against Mississippi State. We've already seen that happen once. Road trip to Alabama, where I don't think South Carolina's ever done well, regardless of coach or player. Followed up the last week of the season with Missouri and a final game against number 1 Auburn. So I think the big picture, you start to just say, okay, where is this team at mentally? Because what's most concerning, I know a lot of people are upset already. I can read the text line. I talk to people out there. But what's most concerning is what is the mentality of the team? I know the mentality of the fan base. I've got that. That's easy to read and to figure out. But what is the mentality of the team over the final few weeks if they've just packed it in? Because the final 10 minutes, according to everything that I've read and heard and talked with people about, was very ugly. That's the concerning part is, are they on the verge of mental collapse? I will say one thing for this basketball team. They've fought. And you saw that during that little run, the 3-game win streak, is they'd have those wild second half runs that would pull games out despite not playing well for 30 minutes. And then the final 10 minutes, they'd make some kind of run against Georgia or Texas A&M or Vanderbilt, and they'd find a way to win, Patrick. This team in the final 10 minutes on Saturday looked like they packed it in and called it a day.
Well, yeah, and it was kind of the peak of the season last Saturday against Texas A&M, that great second half to close it out. You saw the videos of the locker room, the guys going crazy, having a great time, and you kind of felt like, okay, this team has some life. Maybe they're playing their best ball right now. They're inspired a little bit. And just fast forward exactly 1 week, and it was one of the worst performances of the season, and everyone was checked out by the end of it. So, yeah, you're concerned with the mindset going forward. But, I mean, what does that mean? If the players are checked out, you're not going to the tournament anyway. I think what it means more about like projecting forward. What are you even going to take from this season and say, okay, well, it was a bad season. It was disappointing, but at least we have this going forward. Is it just Devin Carter? Like, is that what you take from the season and say, well, this is a guy you can kind of build around? I don't know really what the positives are from what we've seen so far.
It's going to be.
I mean, who's not coming back? Stevenson's not coming back. Reese is not coming back. Cousinard's probably not coming back.
No. Well,
Bryant's not coming back.
According to John Wood, who we'll have on a little while, we'll get more in depth on this. He's of the belief that Eric Stevenson will come back. That will. Right now, the only two that most are for certain that will not come back are Cousinard and Cousinard and Bryant. I think AJ Wilson is actually
even though both of them could come back.
Right. Yeah, I think they're ready to go. And they will have their degrees in hand. Both of them are just ready to move on. It doesn't matter who the next coach is or if Frank Martin's here. Both of them are likely heading over to Europe to play pro ball. They're ready to just get started. Yeah. So you get the feeling that both of those guys are gone. I believe AJ Wilson is actually just completely out of eligibility. Completely.
It's time.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so there will be a couple, but the feeling is that Eric Stevens could come back, but that'll be on whatever the coaching situation, whatever he wants to do. And so there'll be a lot to be sorted out. But as we enter the month of February, and it's not really, obviously for South Carolina fans, not the ideal time that you want something like this. But as we enter the month of February, it's going to be a long, long road through the month of February. And we'll have to see. We'll have to see how this team kind of progresses or how this situation progresses. Look, again, I see the fans. I know where the fans are at. What's more concerning right now is this basketball team mentally. If they check out, I don't know what the point spread will be tomorrow night for the Kentucky game. You would imagine it's going to be double digits. Yeah. But that could be another nail in the coffin here as we continue to go forward. 803-404-6100. We'll continue talking about that. We'll get into some Super Bowl discussion and Reese's Senior Day Bowl discussion. That did involve J.J. Enagbare and his.
That's the second time you said Senior Day Bowl.
Did I say Senior Day Bowl? It is Senior Day. Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
Senior Bowl. Yeah,
we'll have their senior days.
We'll let Patrick break down some of that and give his thoughts from the weekend. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Well, might not feel like it right now with the cold and rain, but spring is right around the corner, and you're going to want to be able to enjoy it to the best of your abilities. If you're like Bill, that'll probably mean jumping in the lake, playing ball in the backyard. If you're like Jen, that'll probably involve gardening of some type. So you're going to want to check out Prisma Health Orthopedics and make sure you're all squared away. They are the official team physicians for the South Carolina Gamecocks and the Clemson Tigers. They'll give you and your family the same care they provide to the top athletes in the state. They are the most comprehensive orthopedic team in the region with 65 specialists across 6 locations to serve you the best they can. If hip and knee pain makes your daily life difficult, you're going to want to seek the best care. Find out if joint pain is affecting your quality of life by taking a free health assessment. They're the region's most trusted orthopedic practice with a deep-rooted history that spans nearly a century, and they're leaders in innovative procedures and teaching the next generation of orthopedic physicians. They offer a full-service, walk-in orthopedic urgent care clinic for all injuries, strains, sprains, fractures, or just chronic joint pain. Get out there, take your free health assessment, and see what they can do for you. Prisma Health Orthopedics has built a foundation for patient-centered care and innovation that results in the best possible service for their patients. So you're going to want to get out there and learn more by visiting prismahealth.org/orthopedics. Once again, prismahealth.org/orthopedics.
It's just a yucky day out there. Let's just be honest. And the traffic, it's kind of looking the same. I-20 eastbound at Highway 378. Also, I-26 eastbound at the Ballantyne exit 101. And there's still a tie-up, Platte Springs Road at South Lake Drive. And it's just this cold rain today, and it's just yuck. 45 for the high. Those are meteorology terms. Low today of about, or overnight low of 35. Tomorrow, we do get up to about 57, and the rain should be cleared out, and up to 64 on Wednesday. So we do have something to look forward to, but it's rainy and 37. 107.5 the game.
Yeah, RL, first live read for your boy. Got to get the flow down. Got to get my delivery down. Yeah, Anthony, not great. Thanks, Earl. Yeah, it's a lot. I gotta get comfortable with the material. Mark, I have not heard anything on the tight ends coach. Lee, just saw this. Yeah, that's a bad story. I didn't hear anything really about it other than I guess he got in a fight, but it's an ugly year for Vegas, the city of Vegas, and the NFL. I do know that a lot of people were in the comments of those tweets saying it was a bad idea to get involved with Vegas. People are responsible for their own actions, but yeah, it's like 3 arrests in Vegas already this year. Maybe, I think more, 4, I believe. We did good with time. Yeah.
6:46 on a Monday morning. If you're getting up and moving around, be safe out there. Try and stay warm. It is certainly going to be a bit chilly this morning, a bit rainy. I think that gives way to chilly weather, but no rain this afternoon. But we'll carry you through this morning. Coming up 7:30, myself, Patrick, and Jen will talk with John Whittle of thebigspur.com about South Carolina basketball this past weekend, his overall thoughts on the program and where things are heading. We'll also catch up with him on Mark Kingston and his team as they held multiple scrimmages over the weekend and opening day, not this coming Friday, but the following Friday over at Founders Park. So first pitch not far away for the Gamecocks. So we will catch up with John Whittle here at 7:30 this morning. Also at 8:05, Patrick, we'll get into this Auburn situation. Philip Marshall with the 24/7 sports site last night, basically saying that it's going to come to a close. It's just a matter of when. We'll catch up with Brian Matthews this morning of the website, the Auburn Rivals website, and get his take on that as well. Auburn Sports, it's just auburn.rivals.com. We've had Brian Owen back before the South Carolina Auburn game in November, and we will catch up with him again as who knows where that thing's going. Over the weekend, a lot happened. Olympics, basketball, other things. Also, the Senior Bowl took place, and one of the guys that we were trying to keep an eye on was J.J. Enagbare to see if he could have a week that would propel himself into the first round or put him right on the edge. How did he do this past weekend? What are you reading about his performance, as well as if there was anything said about Zaquandre White?
Yeah, I didn't really hear it was more about practice for Enagbare. I didn't hear much about his performance in the game. I think you saw them a little bit, but it's kind of weird how little I've heard about Zaquandre White. I've just heard kind of discussion about him as just like a freaky twitched up athlete. Like people are kind of in awe about his ability to cut and just kind of how bouncy he is. But Enagbare had himself a good week. He basically the best thing he did was be big. He was just long-armed, strong, and unfortunately what you heard from some of the like pass rush specialists that were there was he doesn't have many tools in his toolbox. Like he doesn't have too many pass rush moves. He's not hitting you with swims or spins or things like that. He just kind of uses his length and runs into people, which I mean is okay. There's guys that rush like that. It is what it is, but his arsenal isn't very big, and they were trying to get him to put some counter moves in there this week, and he just hasn't done it yet. So in a way, he's a little bit of a raw prospect, and I think teams might see that and say, okay, well, look, he wasn't really coached up on pass rushing moves. He was just kind of a guy that bull rushed, set edges, and just played hard, and that got him a long way. So if they can take him this far, maybe we can just add a couple things to his game, and he can become a big time pass rusher at the next level, which I believe. I mean, if you watch him at South Carolina, you really don't see him out there like playing, like hand fighting all the time. You just kind of watch him running into people and pushing guys back, and that's just kind of been his game. But at the NFL level, it's really not going to work.
What is that? I believe it's Mike Peterson, because Enagbare was an edge guy, was a defensive end. What is that? I don't want to put down Mike Peterson because I feel like that's unfair. I feel like Peterson was pretty good. But then the way you say that and what you're reading and what you're hearing, what does it change? Does it change your opinion at all of Mike Peterson, how he developed guys over the years?
Well, do you think because he was like a traditional linebacker, right?
Who?
Mike Peterson.
Right.
Like, he wasn't a pass rusher. So was it not necessarily the right move for him to be coaching up true pass rushers? Like, I don't know who's in there with them on a daily basis, or even who is now, who's in there on a daily basis with the guys teaching them how to hand fight, or if it was just like, here's your responsibility, this is your role on the play, and Mike Peterson's more just teaching them about their roles and how to play their gaps, right, and their run fits and things like that is more what they're concerned about rather than a pass rushing plan or how to use your hands. Because I mean, you do hear that from some of the best defensive linemen. You always hear about Alabama guys is that they're sharp with their hands. There's guys that come in and they're just like elite with their hands. And some of the guys that look the best at the Senior Bowl, like two pass rushers that got rave reviews, were Jermaine Johnson from Florida State and Arnold Ebiketie from Penn State. neither of them are the high end types of athletes that like Aiden Hutchinson or Kayvon Thibodeau will be, but they look the best in this setting because they're the most developed. So maybe they're as good as they're ever really going to get right now because their hands are so advanced. And in a one-on-one setting, like they're punching and doing all these things with an offensive lineman and dominating them. Whereas somebody like Enagbare is going to come in, maybe he'll be a better NFL player down the road, but he just doesn't look as good in the one-on-one setting. So I don't know what you attribute that to, because obviously South Carolina's coaches are well regarded. I mean, Mike Peterson would have gotten stolen away if he wasn't a well-regarded coach, but is there something missing where they're just not teaching guys how to pass rush effectively? I don't know.
No, that's why I'm asking, because we have said that there were, at least in terms of recruiting, the recruiting rankings, some quality prospects. Well, one
Kinlaw
guy
was the same way. He was just super raw, a freak athlete, long arms, ideal size, but was still raw, and that's why he wasn't taken as high as he maybe could have been.
Well, I think the one guy that we look at now that I don't want to say hasn't lived up to the hype, but at the same time, I think it's fair when you talk about one of the highest rated players that have ever committed to South Carolina is Jordan Birch. And, coming from that level at Hammond, you knew it was going to be a big jump. We didn't get to see him in a Shrine Bowl type setting or anything like that. And you look at it now, and what you're reading, what you're saying is that while Mike Peterson might have been a pretty good recruiter, might have been a really good guy and connected with his players, maybe there could have been a better job of developing the talent that he had there the last few years in terms of fundamentally, because it's hard to argue. And I think JJ and Enagbare didn't necessarily have the great final season that you wanted him to have and what maybe is dominant as times. I mean, I look in terms of edge rushers, I don't know how Enagbare is going to do, but Cliff Matthews, to me, I would take a Cliff Matthews over an Enagbare. And this is no offense to Enagbare, but I would take a Cliff Matthews who seemed to make pivotal plays when they mattered most.
DJ Wonnum was kind of the same way too. I mean, DJ Wonnum's playing well in the NFL. I don't know how we factor him in, because who was his position coach?
That's another one. Yeah, it was Mike Peterson, and that's
considered the same.
That's a very fair argument. That's what I'm saying. I don't know, when you read stuff, when you talk about it like that, it'll be interesting to kind of continue to watch. I mean, look, I thought Mike Peterson. I think Mike Peterson is a really good coach. I think he did some really good things on the recruiting trail. We will see how Sterling Lucas follows in Mike Peterson's footsteps and what he's able to do, both on the recruiting trail over the next few months, and then in terms of developing guys. Jordan Strawn and Jordan Birch instantly come to mind as two guys that he's got to get ready to go for South Carolina to be successful in 2022.
And is there, I mean, I guess I don't really know how big the staffs are, but Alabama's known to have just a million analysts, right?
Yes.
Just paid. Those guys can work one-on-one. Like, they can have a defensive analyst who was just like a former pass rusher and just only worked with pass rushers, right? That's a thing they can have, right?
I believe so.
I don't know. I just feel like it's a lot for a Mike Peterson to worry about, coaching the linebackers, coaching the outside linebackers, which are basically just pass rushers, getting like the defense and the game plan all set up, making sure everyone knows their roles, and then also still having the time to work one-on-one with them on how to be the best pass rusher they can be, and the little nuances of pass rushing that he's probably doesn't even know that well, because it was never part of his game as a player either. It's a lot to ask of someone.
Real quick, about 20 seconds here, Patrick. Could it be scheme related instead of skill set?
Maybe. I mean, that's been a thing for Georgia players. Georgia always likes big defensive ends that all they want to do is just hold guys up, and they're really not pass rushers. So possibly, but in Enigbare's situation, I don't really think so.
We'll continue talking about this. There could be some coaching news for South Carolina as well. Hour 2 on the way. The early game, 107.5 The Game.
Yeah, that was easy.
RL, what was the early game first? What did we do for the first time?
He was talking about my live read.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
it was the early game first. I do agree.
Much
Hopefully get some more of
celebration.
those. Yeah, Craig, but I mean, just practicing by yourself on a practice dummy with no coaching and not on a real person and not live, like, yeah, I'm sure he's got some, but when you're talking about to the NFL levels, like if you just watch Aaron Donald, what he does with his hands is absolutely ridiculous. And it's a wide gap between that and what Enagbare has right now. Are the Olympics going to turn on here soon?
I don't know if it's on NBC this morning. Do you have anything that?
Yeah, the NASCAR race was good. Different. But nothing, not a terrible thing to have some change. Do I want to see them racing around a cereal bowl every week? No. But kind of fun to see them kind of bumping and banging when there's no points on the line for that.
On what? Oh yeah. It's CNBC. No, CNBC. I'm trying to think. Any NBC channel.
Yeah, I don't. Does NBC Sports still exist? This is the Olympic channel.
Okay, can't spell schedule. That's good. Not even close. Let's see here.
The rims on those cars, though, look awesome. You know that, Bill, right?
Oh, there we go. Rims on the cars last night.
Yeah.
I didn't notice those as well. I'm telling you, the size. Yeah, I see what Kyle said. The size of the track and just watch them because they never felt like they could get going. Like you'd see when they were coming in. I mean, it was entertaining. I didn't watch a ton of it. I was watching the end of the golf, and then we did pork chops in the air fryer. Barbecue pork chops in the air fryer. That
Worked pretty well.
Pretty good. Kind of a thinner pork chop. Took about 12 minutes to air fry.
And they were tender?
Mm-hmm.
I assume you don't eat in the Vista very often.
I used to, but I just don't come to why. What
this place 929, the Asian place in the Vista. It's the second time we've had it. It's so good.
Really?
So
really.
Jason, we found it. Patrick's got us on speed skating, and this is live too. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. How about live Olympics? But yeah, we did pork chops in the air fryer. We did salmon on Saturday night because Saturday was a long day. I don't know which already. It was Saturday afternoon. The soccer game at 4:30 as the sun was going down was cold. Yeah. I guess the noon game wasn't bad.
Yeah, I sat outside.
The noon game wasn't bad now that I think about it. But
2 to 4, we were just hanging out at a brewery.
We were back in the gym at 2:00. We play Wednesday night now at 7:15. As soon as I can get Jen's text on the breaks this hour, I'll try and figure out how exactly we want to do this with Whittle. Nope.
It's gonna.
Hour number 2 on a Monday morning, February the 7th. Hope you were doing well. Hope you had a very nice weekend. A lot going on. Didn't involve football. And I think even more so now, Patrick, after the Pro Bowl, we all conclude that was not football.
No. I think that the Pro Bowl, the just not one single person enjoying watching it, I think they're going to have to make a change. This is the worst it's ever been. The product was unwatchable.
Yeah.
And that's what the NFL, everything the NFL does is a production, and they pretty much nail everything. The draft is always a hit. The combine is a hit. People get into all of the offseason stuff, but the Pro Bowl, they just can't get it right. And I'm sure they hate it. And I saw all sorts of suggestions. People want to see the 2 worst teams in the league playing instead of the Pro Bowl, playing for the number 1 pick. We want to see, I saw a suggestion of just put practice squad guys out there and offer them $50,000 each, and they'll actually go out there and play a real game. But what we saw, I even saw the suggestion, just make them play flag football so you don't even get excited or don't even pretend like it's a real football game, because to put those guys out on the field and do what we just watched, I think it was embarrassing to the game, and it's not real football.
I'm laughing. Do you take the top college football team, the champion, and the Pro Bowl is technically the top college football team versus the worst NFL team, and you let them play to solve that discussion?
There should be a level.
Could the college football team beat the, I don't know.
There should be a level to that where it's like, give $1 million, get like 100 players out there, give them $1 million or something, to the winning team, get like a college all-star team out there to practice for a month, and then put together a practice squad team. I don't know. There's something, they have to do something. Even if it's just get rid of the game, you can still have Pro Bowl week. You can still do your dumb little skills games. You can do the fastest man competition, the throwing it in the targets, the whatever games they do, dodgeball, like whatever stupid things they want to do. You can do that to celebrate the best players in the league. Fine, do it. But don't try to make people watch 3 hours of that, because that was garbage. That was absolute garbage that they put on the television. And I would be impressed if anyone watched all 3 hours of that.
803-404-6100. Good news. That is not the football you'll get this coming weekend. The Super Bowl will be on, and we will start to get into that more a little bit today. We'll kind of recap a lot more of the weekend today here. Coming up in about 27 minutes, John Whittle from thebigspur.com will join us to talk about South Carolina's both basketball and baseball teams. Basketball, tough loss this weekend, 81-57. They're in the game for a half, not in the game in the second half. And right now, fans, they're checked out. I think the good news is for the program as a whole, not for this team, but the good news, there's still anger, there's frustration, because that leads me to believe that unlike the end of the Dave Odom era and even the Darren Horn era where there was so much apathy that another coach was going to take time to rebuild everything, I think there's still an emotional investment there. It's just put out with this team. And so if there is a new coach next year, the fact that fans still emotionally are somewhat involved, getting re-energized or having hope for the future is there. But obviously the way people feel about this program right now is very negative. And so we will see. We'll talk with John Whittle coming up in about 26 minutes here. And we'll talk about that. Also, South Carolina scrimmaging in baseball over the weekend, and we will get John Whittle's take on that, as well as, tell you what, not far away. I know some of you are ready to get out there and start tailgating out at the Founders Lot Parks and ready to enjoy some baseball. And as I try and pull up my weather app real quick, I believe today is no fun, not good at all. Cold, rainy. Kids, bundle up if you're going to school. Parents, bundle up if you're going to work. It's going to be nasty today. But I believe starting here later this week, we really start to get a little bit better. 64 on Wednesday, 66 on Thursday, 68 on Friday. Patrick, 70 on Saturday. You'll really be able to sit outside and enjoy a brewery. And then we drop back down to 57 on Super Bowl Monday. But just the way out forecast, 62 degrees on Friday, February 18th, when it's first pitch. So maybe a little bit warmer there than it has been in previous years for that opening day game against UNC Greensboro over at Founders Park. So we'll catch up with John Whittle at 7:30 this morning to talk about all that's going on there. Also, later this morning, 8:05, Brian Matthews from auburnsports.com, the rival site, to talk about what is taking place on the prettiest little village on the plains right now. It is a bloodbath there, trying to figure out who's going to coach their football team next year and what they want to do with that football program. Other news from the weekend leaking out, according to thebigspur.com, J.C. Sherbert, who will join us tomorrow morning at 8:05. Shane Beamer moving closer to hiring a tight ends coach, Patrick. Jody Wright, the potential candidate, Tim Brewster has been the name that had been circulated the most as of late, but Jody Wright right now, who is, I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe was still with the New York Giants. I don't know if he's with the New York Giants or if he's currently unemployed because of obviously the transition there with the Giants, but had been with the New York Giants in an off the field role. It'll be interesting to see if that's the guy that is indeed pegged as the Gamecocks' next coach there to handle the tight ends and work on recruiting.
Yeah, so I'm reading his bio. I mean, he was at Alabama. I guess would be a good candidate. I have
no clue
something
about
where
him.
I just don't know.
No, you read his bio, like Tim Brewster is another name that's been mentioned, and I'm familiar with Tim Brewster and his work on the recruiting trail. And I think, Brewster is 61 years old, and you go, okay, how does he feel about getting out and doing all the things he needs to do and be a part of the program? But the Tim Brewster name certainly is a one of the few tight ends coaches across the country that I would say, oh yeah, I remember him from his time at Florida State, North Carolina, and the things he's done. Jody Wright, not really so much. He has currently been working in the NFL the last 2 years as a defense and offense assistant coach. I believe those are off the field roles with the New York Giants. He was a special assistant to the head coach with the Cleveland Browns in 2019. You mentioned it. He was with Alabama and Nick Saban as director of player personnel in 2015, 2016, and 2017. So he has been around the SEC. This would be his second stint, or I guess his third year if he were to get the job as a own field coach at the collegiate level. He was with UAB in 2014 as assistant head coach and running backs coach, and was with UAB as assistant head coach and running game coordinator and offensive line coach in 2018.
And he was the recruiting coordinator for both of those schools. So, I mean, that's kind of what you're looking for, right? Is you said that's one of those positions where you want guys that can recruit. And if that's what his background is, or, I mean, I don't know. He knows he was worked in Florida. He's worked in Alabama, Mississippi. So, I mean, all around the Southeast, he's been in the SEC before. You assume that he knows what he's doing on the recruiting trail. I don't know what kind of connections he has around the area because he's been out of college football for 5 years now. I'm seeing 2016, I guess, was the last time. So, yeah, I mean, I guess it's a good hire. If he worked for Alabama, director of player personnel, he probably knows the recruiting landscape pretty well. And I think you just have to trust Beamer at this point and that he's going to know what he's looking for and he's going to get the right guy because you're not going to hire somebody that everyone is going to say, oh, I know that guy. That is a slam dunk. That's going to be the best tight ends coach in the country. Like, that's just not going to happen. So you're just kind of blindly hoping that this works out.
Other college football news from the weekend. Look, Mario Cristobal to Miami. Remember back during the season, Kirk Herbstreit went on the big rant about the Miami Hurricanes and how they don't spend money and they can't be competitive and the administration is too stingy and all those things about Miami and why they'll never be competitive again. And then Miami apparently got very offended and has gone out and spent money on Mario Cristobal. They've hired Kevin Steele as their defensive coordinator. They hired him away from Maryland. And now over the weekend, they hire Michigan offensive coordinator Josh Gaddis to come down and be their offensive coordinator. I have no clue if this is going to work out or not. I feel like this is what happens with Miami football every time they make kind of a splashy hire, whether it's Al Golden coming from Temple, whether it was Randy Shannon way back when coming in and being able to rebuild the U where he was a linebacker. I think it then went to Al Golden. Manny Diaz was the homegrown son who came in and was going to rebuild everything, and it was going to be great. There was the turnover chain, and it was big times were ahead. I don't know if Mario Cristobal is going to be that guy, but at least early on, he's building a staff that looks like it could be pretty competitive in the ACC.
Yeah, well, I thought the story here was more about Michigan because Michigan finally seems like they've gotten over the hump. They finally bring down Goliath in that Ohio State game, but what do? They lose both coordinators. Jim Harbaugh nearly leaves for the NFL, comes back to a broken staff. Josh Gaddis seemed to be shredding Michigan on the way out. He is not happy at all with them. Michigan just completely fumbled the opportunity to take all the momentum that they had from this last year. They're going to lose so much talent. They're probably going to lose half a dozen guys to the NFL. And what are they going to do? I mean, everyone thought like Josh Gaddis seems like a star in the making. If you ask assistant coaches around the country, like everyone's really high on him. He probably would have been promoted to head coach had Jim Harbaugh left for the NFL, and now he's out to Miami. So, I mean, good for Miami. I'm of the belief that I'll never see a great Miami team again. That's just I have no reason to ever believe that they'll turn it around. We've seen things like this before, maybe not to this level with the actual financial commitment that they have right now. But yeah, I was more just stunned, like, wow, Michigan screwed everything up. You write a playbook on how not to capitalize on momentum from a big season, and Michigan checked off every single box.
803-404-6100. We've got plenty we can get into this morning, but yeah, we'll talk more about that. Certainly get back into the South Carolina basketball situation, the Olympics. We've got some speed skating taking place here on in front of us, so a lot that we can get into. And again, coming up at about 7:30 this morning, we will catch up with John Whittle. Coming up next, we will get back out to the Love Chevy Fun Lines, but we'll also give you a chance to win 2 spots on our big game board. That's coming up in the next segment. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. Watched a lot of golf yesterday. The AT&T Pebble Beach was on, and I was thoroughly invested. And even though I wasn't playing, feeling a little sore this morning because, when you watch golf and you lay on the couch, the next day you feel sore. Now, if you're playing golf, you definitely might feel a little sore, and that's when it's time to call Casey Chiropractic Center. You can give Dr. Pate and Dr. Roman Cooper a call today, 803-796-2424. Individually, they've both been in business for over 20 years. Combined, that's 40 years. That is the kind of experience you need. That if you've been suffering from back pain, if you've had problems with your neck and your shoulders, and you need somebody to work with you and get you feeling better, it is time to call Dr. Pate and Dr. Roman Cooper this morning and get that appointment scheduled. Chuck on our live stream is raves about how the brothers there at Casey Chiropractic Center take care of their patients, both with a personal approach, but also making sure that they do the natural approach before the surgical approach. Don't wait around any longer. Casey Chiropractic will offer you reasonable upfront pricing, no gimmicks or hidden fees, and they don't engage in high pressure sales or scare tactics. They want to work to get you back to living the life you've been wanting to live. So call Casey Chiropractic Center today, 803-796-2424. Let Dr. Pate Cooper and Dr. Roman Cooper work with you, get you feeling better and back on your feet, ready to get out there and play some golf. 803-796-2424. That's Casey Chiropractic Center. Yeah, I don't know what they do for that Pro Bowl. There's no good. I can promise you. There's just basically maybe you bring them and you give them, like you said, very nice dinners and you skills competitions and you tie in award ceremonies. I don't know. Whatever it is, you stop doing what you're doing. Let them just send them back out to Hawaii. Send them out to Hawaii and give them like a free vacation to Hawaii. That's what you get. Just let them go out to Hawaii and be able to bring their family. I think you make it an incentive, and then maybe you make it a little bit more media oriented. You could have some kind of golf outing. I don't know. Maybe not even all of it has to necessarily be um, televised. You could use your streaming platform if people want to get into it. Just a thought. I don't know. Yeah, college all stars. You're not going to really be able to involve the college players in it. Although maybe, I don't know. I guess maybe they'd say maybe tampering, but you could invite maybe because most of the college guys have agents, so they're professionals. Then invite some college players out and let them do some of the skills challenges. I don't know.
Going back to Larry's question about the hole in the
The windshield.
windshield for NASCAR because they're trying to cool things down in the car. Because they have the exhaust on under the car on both sides now, so it's getting a little hotter for them. I think the vent idea is not bad. You definitely have a lot of airflow going.
Yeah, you probably definitely need to keep the inside of the car cool.
Oh, sometimes it can get with their feet. Just they'll get blisters.
So Daytona is not this weekend, but it's next weekend, right?
Correct.
Right. Yeah, because nothing nothing is this weekend. Like Waste Management actually starts Wednesday because of the
Oh,
Super
really?
Bowl. They're not going to go up against the Super
Yeah.
Bowl.
Smart. And then they had Nance calling the final round of a tournament last weekend from Kansas City in the truck.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because
Well, it says the 10th through the 13th, but I thought they were moving up because supposedly they did. Maybe ESPN's got that wrong.
I know they didn't want to compete with the championship games, so they started early or something, and Nance was in the production truck calling a tournament from the AFC Championship.
I guess because it's CBS. Because who's got the Super Bowl this year? Is it Fox?
I think it's NBC.
Oh.
I thought Con.
So maybe
I
CBS.
think it is NBC.
They figure they'll be done by 6:30. I thought I saw where they were moving the Waste Management up though.
Yeah, it's NBC. Yeah, Larry, 22 All Pros. Actually, 29 because you also have kicker, punter, long snapper, punt returner, kick returner. Actually, 28, and then special teamer.
All right, Jen will give away this stuff right now. Give away two of them. 7:18 on a Monday morning, February the 7th. Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrette, Jen Jensen, getting you through here on a cold, rainy day. But I tell you, as we were just talking, the weather hopefully starting to turn in favor of us. Super Bowl weekend coming up. And I tell you what, you can't have a Super Bowl without having a big game board or a square board, as some call it. And right now, you can call us 803-404 6100. Your spot on the 1075 The Game big board. 803-404 6100. We'll take two callers right now. Your spot will be posted on Facebook and Twitter on Sunday morning before the big game. You can win prizes such as a pair of tickets to Elton John at Colonial Life Arena on April 20th. You can win a pair of tickets to the Red Hot Chili Peppers at Bank of America Stadium on September 1st and a 3-night stay at Kiowa Island. So a lot of possibilities there. 803-404 6100. That's how you can jump on with us to win. Jen will get your information. So you call in now. She'll take two callers right now for a spot on our 1075 The Game big board is how you can do that. Later on this morning, Patrick, you and I participate in a little virtual golf. Matt Jurgensen, who I think I coached, if I'm thinking of the right one, and I think there's only one of them out there. He'll join us this morning. I coached him in Lexington. Courtney Levitt, former South Carolina standout punter for the Gamecocks under Lou Holtz, who apparently does a fantastic Lou Holtz impression. They'll join us over at the main street, the main course for driving down Main Street. You and I will get to play a little golf ourselves. This past weekend was the AT falling yesterday as Tom Hoagie wins the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am with 19 under, a 268, and he rallied late there. Looked like Spieth was going to be able to pull it off, was not able to do it. This coming weekend will be the Waste Management Open out in Phoenix, Arizona, with the Stadium course and the 16th hole, of course, the Stadium hole. We'll see how that goes. We were talking about it. They will actually play, as far as I can tell, I thought the Waste Management Open, which is always one of my favorite tournaments because of the crowd they get out there. It's more of a party atmosphere than it is a golf tournament.
Yeah, I saw them setting up for a concert yesterday.
Yeah,
too.
they were having a concert. They're having a concert this past weekend, but it's always one of my more favorite tournaments. I thought they were playing Wednesday through Saturday so that it did not conflict with the Super Bowl on Sunday, but it looks like they're doing it Thursday through Sunday. I swore I had read that somewhere. We know that for NFC and AFC Championship weekend, they moved the tournament up to Wednesday through Saturday, but it doesn't look like they necessarily did that this coming weekend. So it'll be a fun event, but that'll lead us into the Super Bowl on Sunday. And Bengals Rams tonight, as you said, is opening night. And as we sit here at 7:22 on Monday morning with the countdown starting for Super Bowl, your early thoughts on what we could be seeing here this week?
I think it's gonna be a great game. I actually have not looked at the line movement at all. I don't know if it has moved. Usually the Super Bowl line doesn't move too much, but every day that goes by, I'm more confident in the Bengals. Like I truly think that 99% of people are pulling for the Bengals. It seems like if you're not a Rams fan or maybe a Lions fan that just really loves Matt Stafford, it seems like everyone is pulling for the Bengals. I just think they're going to be really confident going into it. And I mean, both teams are, I think, healthy as can be. Looks like both tight ends are potentially going to be out with the Bengals. CJ Uzama nursing an MRI sprain, and Tyler Higbee for the Rams got hurt in the NFC Championship, so he might be out. But outside of that, those two players kind of neutralize each other, and I think it's going to be a great game. I think the Rams pretty much have the edge in pretty much every unit. They have a better line, offensive line. They have a better defensive line. They maybe have the edge like in the secondary and linebacking core, but the Bengals it's going to be Joe Burrow and those three receivers, and that's just what they are. And I'm super excited for it. I think right now, 6 days away, I think the Bengals are going to win the Super Bowl.
Leaning toward Bengals, certainly. It should be. I think in a situation like this, I think I'm with you. I think I'm with you on this. I think I'm kind of pulling for the Bengals. What I know I'm pulling for is a good game. I'm pulling for something that really keeps me entertained. Obviously, pulling for I'm pulling for great commercials, pulling for solid food on Sunday. Haven't gone there. I've thought about getting us some kind of chef later this week to break down some proper Super Bowl
meals.
Yep, some good, maybe something a little bit different for your Super Bowl party. So I've thought about doing something like that here later in the week. But yeah, you're right. You start looking at it and seeing what exactly could be this coming weekend. I'm just really hoping for a good game. That's what I feel like we need is something that would be very entertaining and keep us involved all the way through to the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean that's honestly the goal, and this is why the NFL is the best, because you don't really hear anyone complaining about the matchup. I mean, I haven't. Have you heard or seen any complaints about this matchup? Not really. But if this was the Cincinnati Reds in the World Series, no one would care about watching it. If it was the Cleveland Cavaliers without LeBron James in the NBA Finals, no one would care about it. Like, the market does not matter in the NFL, but in every other sport, it kind of does, because people will check out if there isn't like a big name team or superstar talent. This is just going to be a great matchup. Right now, all anybody can talk about is how Joe Burrow's the man. Jamar Chase is the man. They made the right decision by taking him over Penei Sewell. Matt Stafford's storyline is awesome. A home game in the Super Bowl is really cool. Like, I don't think the storylines could really be any better. Maybe we would have gotten bored if this was LA and Kansas City, even though the matchup would have been incredible and the Chiefs kind of sell. But I don't think anyone's complaining about seeing the Bengals in the Super Bowl. They're probably arguably the least sexy team in the NFL. I don't know if that's a hot take, but I think the Bengal stripes have always looked kind of hacky. I don't think they're very cool. Cincinnati is not a city. Cincinnati might be the number one city that no one wants to play for. I think the Bengals are, if you asked around the league, that's the number one team that people do not want to play for, because they've never won a Super Bowl. They have to practice outside. They have to walk over a highway to get to practice. There's no indoor facility. They don't pay anybody. They're kind of like the cheapest, worst organization in the NFL in a way, but they're just very good right now, and it's mostly because of Joe Burrow.
We'll continue talking about this. We'll see if we can dig up. I'm looking, it looks like 4.5 as we sit here at 7:26 on a Monday morning.
Probably not going to move then.
4.5 is about what you're looking at, and over under 48.5. Brian Edwards from Vegas Insider will join us on Thursday to go over this game as well as props and anything else that involves the Super Bowl. Up next, though, John Whittle from thebigspur.com will join us. We'll get into South Carolina basketball from the weekend, an 81-57 loser to Tennessee, and Gamecock baseball holding multiple scrimmages as we count down to opening day. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. I believe if you leave now to make the big game, you can get out there by driving, but you're going to need a reliable vehicle. So before you leave to head to the big game out in California, you probably want to go by Love Chevrolet this morning. Good news, you're going to save money. Love Chevrolet not adding on those extra sticker add-ons that cause sticker shock. You've heard of people who get sticker shock. They think they're getting a great deal. They go to a car dealership only to discover that price tag in the window has multiple add-ons, and what was once a reasonably priced car is now $20,000 or $30,000 more. That is sticker shock. At Love Chevrolet, it's not happening. Not right now in the time of high demand and low supply where other dealerships are adding on prices and gouging customers. Love Chevrolet is taking care of their customers as they have for over 60 years in the business. Go find out for yourself just how great it can be purchasing a vehicle from Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. Not only do they have the $1,000 low price guarantee, which means you can shop other dealerships and take their deals back to Love Chevrolet, they also have the largest selection of anywhere in the Midlands, 14 acres to be exact. And again, there is shortages across the board, but at Love Chevrolet, they're still able to provide you the best selection of vehicles anywhere here in the Midlands. And of course, that incredible sales staff that takes care of their customers from the moment you drive on to the lot to the moment you leave. Love Chevrolet will make sure you feel welcomed and comfortable with that important purchase in your life. Go find out for yourself. Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, or on the web, lovechevy.com. Get out to Love Chevrolet and find new roads. Yep, that is. I don't know. I think there'll be a lot of money on the Bengals money line, Kevin.
Yes.
Are we not in program?
No, we just didn't have our mics on.
Oh, mine was on.
Yeah. Well, say something. No, we're on.
Got it. All right. Yep. Yeah, no, that's a crazy stat there. Anytime
Well, let me see what I already put down. I think I put money on the cover already.
Oh, that's just funny. It's just funny. RL taking a shot at Cowboys fans.
I like that, RL. Thank you. All right,
Just
open bets.
twisting the needle.
Yeah, so I'm in at +4 right now. What is the money line? 170?
4.5.
No, money line is 170.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
And then you got 4.5. So I don't.
Yeah, I just have 4.
John Gilreath is still at South Carolina.
I need to pull up the roster.
I literally think I tried to interview John Gilreath when I was at the previous radio station, which would have been like 6 years ago.
When he was a recruit?
Yeah, after he committed.
It's going to be sad how many names I don't know on this roster.
Yeah, you just got to watch a few games.
All right, Braylon Wimmer, I know. Colin Burgess, I know. Andrew Eister, I know. Seitler, I know. Gilreath, Bosnick. Jack Mahoney. Will
There you go.
Sanders.
The official sponsor of the live stream has joined in this morning. Welcome into Benji Gets.
I know 11 players on the baseball team.
Sponsored by Buford Lending, and he wants to be your broker. And I think at some point this morning I'll tell you more about that. Nope, not this morning. I will not, apparently. All right, we'll carry this. I appreciate that. We'll do our best. Seven. 7:33 on a Monday morning. What we've been talking about is bounced kind of all over the map. A little bit of Super Bowl in the previous segment. We have talked about some Olympics. Oh, there is speed skating on the television now. They are in perfect form. Hands behind the back, getting low on the turns. I have no idea who's winning this thing. Patrick, you want a ballpark? Oh, wait.
Renzi.
China is.
First and second.
Yeah, China.
They're going to box everybody else out here.
They're in full control. We've been talking about that. We have also been talking some South Carolina athletics as the basketball team drops an 81-57 decision over the weekend. And South Carolina baseball, Mark Kingston back out on the diamond. Not far away, less than 2 weeks away from opening day, first pitch. And as we were looking at our weather app, John Whittle joining us now from thebigspur.com. And I texted with Whittle last night. He was trying to thaw out from a chilly day at Founders Park. So, Whittle, good news. According to the weather app, looks like it could be around mid 60s or low 60s for opening day. It's 2 weeks away. So take it for what it's worth.
Hey, sign me up for that. That sounds great. There've been 5 scrimmages so far, and 4 of them have been cold. So give me a good one.
Just take anything better than what was yesterday. Was cold and windy. Let's start with a little bit of baseball there as they wrap up another weekend of scrimmages. They'll have one more weekend before they really get the season going. But let's start with the pitching. And yesterday was Cade Austin and Noah Hall that were going against each other for about 3 innings. But what have you seen so far that gives you an idea of what this rotation may end up looking like?
Well, Will Sanders has been great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's been far and away, he's far and away solidified a spot in the weekend rotation. Obviously, he's probably going to be your Friday night guy. Julian Bosnick they were looked at as kind of 1A and 1B. Julian hasn't been great so far. He's really struggled actually, and that's been kind of his MO a little bit going into seasons. He's struggled in the preseason, struggled in the scrimmages, and as the weather gets better, he's gotten better. But that's not the way you need to be right now when you're counted on being a dude. So he's got to get a little bit better, and hopefully he will. But there've been some encouraging things behind those guys because there's question marks about this pitching staff after losing so many guys. But James Hicks is who I thought was going to be the front runner for the Sunday spot, and he had a really good outing a couple of days ago. He struggled a little bit his first preseason scrimmage. He's a junior college transfer, so but he was really good this past week. Cade Austin, a local guy from Chapin, has been phenomenal. He's pitched 3 times, and I don't believe has given up a run yet. He threw 3 perfect innings yesterday, 4 strikeouts. Josiah Seitler's been really good. Noah Hall was good yesterday. There have been some encouraging signs on the mound, to be perfectly honest with you. The pitching staff has been a really big question mark for me and most people going into to this season, but there have been some really encouraging signs. So those are a few guys who stood out to me for sure.
He's John Whittle joining us to talk a little baseball and basketball this morning. You can check out his work if you're not already on thebigspur.com. Does a phenomenal job there. Just sticking with the pitching, do you see or what have you seen philosophy-wise? You got a first-year pitching coach or a new pitching coach in Justin Parker taking over for Skylar Meade, who's now down at Troy as head coach. Do you see a difference in philosophies? What have you seen maybe that Gamecock fans or the fans would notice in how Justin approaches it, Coach Parker approaches it, as opposed to how Coach Meade handled it?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't think we will really see that until game situations. What's happening right now is all throughout the fall, guys were working on things. So just because a guy threw a pitch in a certain situation in a fall scrimmage, it doesn't mean that that's what's going to happen come the season. Those guys are Justin Parker's figuring out how those guys work, and those guys are working on different pitches and seeing what they can do in different situations. And that's a big part of the fall. Right now, some of that's still happening too. And we were talking to Mark Kingston yesterday, and after the scrimmage, and he was explaining that with the TrackMan and everything that they track, without the help of machines, but mainly using the TrackMan, they're figuring out like what guys do well in terms of the count, in terms of the situation. This guy's pitch is better in this kind of situation. Whether it's a 4-seam fastball, 2-seam fastball, and they're kind of making adjustments and figuring out what is working best for guys against hitters. So that all of that is kind of being figured out right now. Justin Parker's getting used to his guys. His guys are kind of developing what they're doing. So I think we'll see a little bit more of that in terms of his philosophy and how he manages his pitching staffs and how he uses relievers and what he kind of leans on and what he values. We'll see some of that develop more over the course of the season versus in scrimmages, because so much of that is just kind of figuring out what his guys can do and what they're comfortable with.
Yeah, so you said it's hard to notice this time of year from your perspective, but same goes on the opposite side. Chad Callett coming in, Stuart Lake was there for a long time. He's obviously moved on now. What have you noticed from him? What's his demeanor like, and how are the guys responding to him?
Yeah, his demeanor is a lot of fun to watch. He's a ball of energy over there. He's loud. He's vocal in scrimmages. He's encouraging guys. Obviously, a big point of emphasis has been trying to cut down on strikeouts and put balls in play. And part of that has been done through recruiting. They've recruited, and consciously over the last couple of years, this wasn't necessarily a reaction to last season. They've consciously been recruiting a better athlete who may be able to make some adjustments a little bit better, maybe has a little bit more quick twitch in them. They're putting a great emphasis on cutting down those strikeouts that they had such a big problem with last year, and hitting for a little bit higher batting average and have a little bit more speed out there, have a little bit more athleticism. Now, there are certainly some guys who can hit some home runs as well that have been recruited in this class, whether it's a Cole Messina or Carson Hornig or a Vitas Valencias. There's several guys out there who can still poke it a little bit, but you look at a Michael Braswell or a Thad Ector or some guys like that, Evan Stone, another local guy who was really good in the fall. And, those guys can hit some line drives, go steal a base for you. They're a little bit more versatile in terms of what they can do. So, Chad Kaye, I think has been really good for this team, and that's not to take anything away from Stuart Lake, who is, certainly been really good for South Carolina for a lot of years, and is certainly a well-liked guy in that program, in that dugout, and really around the state and the world of baseball. So, not take anything away from Stewart, but Chad Kaye, I think, has had a really strong influence on this team in a very short time.
Real quick, and then we'll transition to some basketball thoughts. But 1 weekend left. What is the main goal for Mark Kingston and staff here as they try to spend, I guess, the last week of preseason before next week really ramping up for the first game?
Well, I think you'd really like to see Julian Bosnick, assuming he's healthy, come out and have a really good weekend this coming weekend and give him something to feel good about, going into the season. I think it's just having a few guys clean up some things and feel good going into UNC Greensboro. I added up the stats from the 5 scrimmages. That story will be going up on the website here a little bit later this morning. And, you look at a guy like Andrew Eyster, and, he's only gotten a couple of hits in these 5 scrimmages, and he's got a lot of walks, but, he hadn't really seen the ball fall out there too much. Same with Kevin Madden, a transfer from Virginia Tech, who's going to be starting over there at third base. You'd like to see him, drop a couple more hits in there than maybe he has so far. But, just having guys be in a good mental headspace going into the season. Baseball is a challenging year with ups and downs, and you want to have as many guys feeling as good as possible going into the year.
Again, he's John Whittle joining us this morning from thebigspur.com. You can follow him on Twitter if you're not. Most of you probably already know him anyway, but John M. Whittle, he's been working with me for a long time. It's getting old, John. We're getting old, and neither of us handle the cold quite like we used to. But
you're getting old.
Yeah, true. But you did tell me last night I'm getting smarter, so I felt better about myself after our text conversation. So let's move on real quick. Obviously, this past weekend, disappointing. South Carolina put forth a good first half. It doesn't go their way. And I guess big picture now, from what you've seen, you look at the remainder of the schedule. Where in your opinion does this program sit here as we enter the second week of February?
It's in a really tough spot right now, and I don't think I'm breaking any news to anybody about that. I was looking at some numbers last night. South Carolina's 105 in the net ranking right now. And, I've looked at some schools that have been snubbed with this net ranking stuff, and you look back a few years ago, and Clemson was 35 in the net ranking and didn't get in. And NC State was 33 that year. Last year, Ole Miss, they had a 10-8 record in the SEC, and a resume that might be a little bit similar to South Carolina. They had a net ranking, I think, of 53, and they were left out of the tournament. South Carolina's got a long way to go. Now there's still 8 games to do it, and there's a lot of quality opponents still left on that schedule. Every game, but maybe one is either a quad 1 or quad 2 game. So there's opportunities to go out there and really change what your resume looks like. But there's so much work that they've got to do, and tough teams to do it against. Top 5 Kentucky coming in, you close it out against number 1 Auburn. You got LSU there in the middle, Alabama, who's so good on the road. 4 of your last 7 games are on the road. And, if Frank Martin's educated us on one thing over the years, it's how difficult it is to win on the road in the SEC. So, it's so challenging, throughout the end of the season. And, South Carolina's not in a good position right now when it comes to overall record. if you look at it simply, and the metrics that the NCAA tournament committee looks at. So opportunity out there, but not in a good spot as you sit here today.
Agree with you there. Obviously, a lot of work to do, and a lot will tell the story of the future of South Carolina basketball over the next 3 or 4 weeks, and we will get you back on to discuss that at some point in time, buddy. Thank you for getting up with us this morning, and we look forward to catching up with you again here in the next few weeks.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Always glad to do it. John Whittle of thebigspur.com, who, again, he's the younger of the two of us. He's been around, but we've worked together and always enjoyed our road trips together and finding some unique restaurants here throughout the Southeast there as we would go on football recruiting trips, Patrick. We had some interesting times. He actually took me to meet, I think I should have asked him when he was on, but he took me to meet Corey Seager, the
Nice.
shortstop there for the Los Angeles Dodgers when Seager was, I think, committed to South Carolina, but was playing high school and was very evident he was not going to be playing college ball. So we had a lot of fun there.
Signed a big deal with the Rangers.
Oh, okay. There we go. So 803-404-6100, how you can join us this morning, or you can go to the Buford Lending live stream as always. Go to the youtube.com, search 1075 The Game, click and subscribe. We'll come back and wrap up hour number 2 when we return. You're listening to the early game on 1075 The Game.
More of the early game coming up on 1075 The Game.
If you've been feeling a little stiff lately, got problems with some inflammation in your ligaments, in tissues, in your muscles, now is the time to call QC Kinetics for a free consultation. And guess what? The best part about QC Kinetics, there's no surgery, there's no steroids, there's no opioids. It's just straight work with your body that will help get you back to living the life that you want to live. So don't wait another day. Call QC Kinetics today for that free consultation and get back to living the lifestyle you want to live. 803-281-6860. That is the phone number you need to call QC Kinetics. If you've been suffering from chronic joint pain, don't just assume steroid shots, pain pills, and surgery are your only options. Find out what the medical professionals at QC Kinetics can do for you with their advanced, unique treatment protocol using natural biologic agents from your own body. These powerful, highly concentrated growth factors are put directly into your affected joints, and they're going to work to soothe the inflammation and restore damaged tissue. Find out for yourself exactly what I'm talking about by calling QC Kinetics today, 803-281-6860. Again, that's 803-281-6860. That's QC Kinetics.
1075 The Game traffic from the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center. Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. ShepherdsGlass.com.
And things remain busy out there this morning due to all of that rain. Just kind of yuck this morning. Dutch Fork Road, just east of Three Dog Road. We do have an accident there up towards Chapin. I-26 eastbound at the Valentine Egg.
I think it's. I thought it was 11:30, but let me confirm that real quick because I have the email right here. Yeah, 11:30. Look forward to seeing your team. 11:30, and you can park on the third floor. Do you have this email? Yeah, I went to Patrick Pred at Cumulus.com. Can you get your okay? Larry, I'm starting to lean if they got to make a change, they might have to go the BJ Mackey route. I think BJ Mackey would be an I would say out of the box hire, but I think my personal just talking with people the last few weeks, I think I would have to overpay, but BJ Mackey and Bob Ritchie could be the best options. We won't talk about that just yet. Let's. So when do you start planning your Super Bowl like meal? Your because it is a big cooking day, right? Like I can kind
Yeah.
of get on board with you on that. Like you get up in the morning, we're gonna have the waste management open on Sunday. That'll be a lot of fun. It's a pretty good field out there in Phoenix. You've got all of the pregame shows that start going on. I have zero clue for those of you wondering already what time Puppy Bowl occurs or any of that you
It's
can
early
have
afternoon.
early in the afternoon. Okay.
Yeah,
That's the half. Do they have a show, or do they commentate Puppy Bowl? I did not know that.
Snoop and Martha Stewart. Busy day for Snoop.
Busy day. You'll have a lot going on. So
I'll just
yeah,
be listening to Eminem, Snoop, Dr. Dre, and Mary J. Blige and Kendrick Lamar all day.
all day. Yeah. So you've got a lot that you can this coming Sunday. So when do you start planning your
It's probably
food?
about time. I mean, I'm going to be I think I'm going to watch my parents' house this year, so I don't know if I can trust them to just put together the menu. I might have to
Start working on it.
working on it myself. It's true. That is true, especially cream cheese because I did make buffalo chicken dip and crab dip last year. Both of those require cream cheese, so I might have to adjust the menu a little bit if I can't get my hands on enough cream cheese.
I think.
Yeah.
I think a homemade buffalo chicken dip might be a direction to go this year. We'll see. That's not a bad plan. Well,
Got to get the cream cheese early.
yeah,
We
will.
I tried to make we made Reuben dip last weekend and all they had was like flavored cream cheeses.
We'll talk more about your menu items for the Super Bowl. We'll get back into South Carolina football. Up next in the next segment, we'll talk with Brian Matthews. Oh, Auburn football. That's a mess. We'll get some information. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. Plenty of cream cheese at the U.S. Foods chef store. But to go to the chef store, don't you have to own a restaurant or something?
No, that's for anybody.
Really?
Great place to get like crab legs. I think.
I did not know that.
Yep.
All right. You still got Brian's phone number, right? I feel like I gave you a lot of Brian's to call, but I'm with you, RL. But I think it'll be an easy week. Ooh, good Lord. I think it'll be an easy week. Oh, no, that's not good. Alvin Kamara was arrested.
Yeah, you didn't see that? Somebody asked about that on the live stream.
No, I didn't see that.
Right after the game, basically. It was assault causing serious bodily harm.
Ooh. Not good.
That is ridiculous, that goal. You did see Trevor Zegras' blindfolded goal?
Yeah, I did see that one. They were showing all the highlights.
You didn't see that one?
No, I did see that
okay.
one. They did the blindfold goal, but then the really cool one was the NHL skills competition. They did the out in front of the which God, I was just there. I can't remember, but they're on the the little pool of water. What was it? Where the Patrick, will be back. All right, you might have to just take us in real quick. Right? No, I think I got to start. There you go. Huh? Yeah. We made it. We made it. Our number 3 on a Monday morning, a rainy, cold Monday morning as I look back over my left shoulder at Gervais Street. If you're out and about this morning, stay safe, stay warm, 2 hands on the wheel, get yourself to where you need to go, get the kids to school safely, get yourself to work safely. We got a big week ahead of us, a lot going on here on the early game. We'll be joined by J.C. Sherbert tomorrow morning at 8:05 from the BigSpur.com. Big Spur covering right now that tight end coaching situation. We'll get his take on where they stand with the tight end coaching search, as well as his final thoughts on recruiting from this past recruiting class. We may have a new golf segment on Wednesday that we'll get into on Thursday. Perry Orth, the quarterback of this program, will join us at 7:30 on Thursday morning. Mark your calendars appropriately. Perry Orth will join us to break down the Super Bowl. We'll get his take on the 2 quarterbacks there, Joe Burrow and Matthew Stafford. Of course, on Thursday morning, Brian Edwards, I've already confirmed it. Texted with him yesterday. Went ahead and made sure that he was good for Thursday. Brian Edwards of VegasInsider.com will join us Thursday morning to talk about the Super Bowl, the props, the overs, the unders, all the big bets that will be placed out in Vegas this coming weekend. That'll be 8:05 on Thursday morning. And then, of course, Kerry Tharp joining us Thursday around 8:45 for our usual NASCAR segment Friday morning. Right now, Chris Deering set to join us at 8:05, and we will have plenty of other guests along the way as we count down until the Super Bowl, Patrick. And that's where a lot of our show will go this week. South Carolina will host Kentucky on Tuesday night at Colonial Life Arena, but that one expected to be a very big uphill climb for the Gamecocks. Dawn Staley's team will host Kentucky on Thursday night over at Colonial Life Arena as they get back to action. No basketball this past weekend. Staley and her team were off this weekend, so they get a quick break before now starting to head into the back half of the schedule. They actually go to Kentucky on Thursday night. That game will be on ESPN at 7 o'clock up in Lexington, Kentucky, where they will play. So the Gamecocks basketball playing Kentucky this week. But the big storyline will start to be the Super Bowl that features Matthew Stafford. Maybe right now Joe Burrow's the cool quarterback. Matthew Stafford is the veteran and the guy that, man, this game, you win this. Matthew Stafford wins this and won. Everything the Rams did pays off. Going in on Von Miller, going in on Odell Beckham Jr., making the Matthew Stafford trade. But it also will start to validate Matthew Stafford as one of the top quarterbacks in the league, despite having played in Detroit. He will be the first superstar in Detroit to get out and win a Super Bowl. Barry Sanders didn't do it. Calvin Johnson didn't do it. Matthew Stafford will have found a way out and will have parlayed it into a Super Bowl.
Matthew Stafford's a very interesting case because obviously all these great quarterbacks have just retired over the last couple of years. You've had the class of 2004, Roethlisberger, Rivers, Eli Manning, and then you had Peyton, you had Brady, you had Breeze, and then Aaron Rodgers is there in 2005. He's kind of the last one still hanging on. And one of the narratives have been that the old guard has basically gone through and retired, and now we've got the new era of young quarterbacks with Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, whoever you want to say, these 26, 25 and under guys. But Matt Stafford's kind of in like a generation by himself. I mean, maybe you put Russell Wilson in that generation a little bit, but he's drafted in 2009. It's kind of him, Matt Ryan, you'd say. Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl in there, but he's kind of like out there by himself. He's not the super old guy. He's not playing into his 40s right now like Brady and Rodgers would be. He's not 25 and under. He's just kind of solidly in his prime and has been really good for a long time, but has just never been talked about because he's been just in NFL hell basically in Detroit, where he's been on a winless team, even though he wasn't really playing. They have top 5 picks every single year, and they've just been a disaster forever. So it's actually really cool to see him. And I think Lions fans, what I've seen from Lions fans, 99% of them are in full support of Matt Stafford. Like, they love the guy, and they're happy to see someone get out and find success. It feels like they've almost thrown in the towel on ever being a successful organization. They're just enjoying having Dan Campbell right now. And, weirdly, if Aaron Rodgers leaves the division, they're going to be set up almost as well as anyone going forward. I mean, they need to find a quarterback, which I'm not sure they have any confidence they'll ever be able to do, but the division's going to be awful. So they're going to have a chance. But yeah, Matt Stafford's just an interesting situation. And we said it a couple weeks ago. Who does this mean the most for? He can arguably change the narrative on his career more than anyone else in the playoffs right now.
Scott weighs in on our text line and says, if Stafford wins the Super Bowl, he's a Hall of Famer. Would you go that far?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You going? Stafford this year, 41 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. It's his best year since his third year in the league in his first full season. In 2011, Matt Stafford threw for 5,038 yards, 41 touchdowns, and 16 interceptions. In this year, in 17 games, 41 touchdowns, 17 interceptions, 4,886 yards. There's been a lot of solid years in between, not great years, but again, he was in Detroit. 2015, he had 32 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, and threw for just over 4,200 yards that particular year. Patrick, I mean, it's 161 touchdowns, 87 interceptions in his career. Right now, he is just 5 yards shy of 50,000 yards in his career. It's a solid career, and like you said, he's in purgatory. He's been in purgatory in Detroit. Now he gets out, and I don't know the contract situation for the Rams quite as much, But are they set up to go on a small run if you can keep this nucleus together for a year or two?
Well, yes. What they're going to be counting on is they've paid out big money to Donald, to Ramsey, to the main core of this team. They're going to be hoping that it can be the Tom Brady deal where people will take lower level deals to stick around and be on a contender. They're going to be hoping that Von Miller, when his contract expires, says, you know what, this was really fun playing in LA. Right by Hollywood and being a contender. I've been on the Broncos. I've experienced the Super Bowl before, but I've just been on an average team. And you know what? I want to ride out the rest of my career on a contender. So I think LA already just being that market is going to be something that players are attracted to. So guys will inherently take lower level deals. They don't have a ton of money to go out and spend. They're going to have to convince guys to take team friendly deals. But yeah, this window is going to be open for a couple of years. I mean, there's so many superstars on that team, and it's not going to be built through the draft. They're just going to have to keep bringing guys in off the streets. But I think you can expect to see them here for the next couple of years.
803-404-6100, how you can join us. Dan weighing in, he says best halftime show poll for Super Bowl week would be awesome. We'll get to that. We'll have some food polls as well. Trey weighing in, Matthew Stafford is the Freddie Freeman of the NFL. Buying that analogy?
I guess so. I mean, just been good for the Braves haven't been that bad though. I mean, the Braves have won the division a couple of times the last couple of years. It just took them a while to break through. I don't know who the baseball comparison would be. I mean, but just good players that have never won a Super Bowl. I guess I can get on board with that. I do think he's going to be a Hall of Famer though. I mean, unless we change what it means to be a Hall of Famer, once you hit 50,000 yards, I think at this point you're pretty much automatically in the Hall of Fame. Matt Stafford's going to end his career at least a top 10 passer. Probably, you know, if he plays 5 more years, he's going to probably be close to top 5 all time. So I think he's definitely going to end up in the Hall of Fame. If we think that Phillip Rivers is going to be in the Hall of Fame, then we have to say the same for Matthew Stafford. Obviously, the stats are inflated because it's a passing era, so you're not going to be able to really compare him to, you know, I'm looking down the list like Dan Fouts, Drew Bledsoe, Vinny Testaverde, Fran Tarkenton, Warren Moon. These are all guys he's already passed. He's got John Elway in the crosshairs. He'll probably pass John Elway within the first 4 weeks of next season, and then Aaron Rodgers will be the next up. And so, yeah, I mean, his stats are going to be inflated, but it's production, and he's going to have if he wins a Super Bowl, then that changes everything too. So, I mean, him, Matt Ryan, Phillip Rivers, those are all going to be top 10 career passers when they're done, and those will be the interesting debates because Brady's a no-brainer, obviously. Peyton was a no-brainer. Ben's a no-brainer with 2 Super Bowls. Eli's a no-brainer with 2 Super Bowls. Matt Ryan will be an interesting Hall of Fame discussion because he's got huge stats and he was an MVP. Stafford, interesting MVP discussion if he wins a Super Bowl. And then Phillip Rivers, who's just 6th all time, top 5 in pretty much every other category, but no Super Bowls.
We'll get more into this as we roll through the week. A lot to cover and get into, and we'll get actually into a little bit more this hour. Some really good text messages coming in on the text line. But let's get out to the Love Chevy phone lines now, where Brian Matthews of auburnsports.com on the Rivals Network joins us because, whew, Brian, I've been in your shoes, man. I've worked in the internet industry, and when you have a situation like what's unfolding down in Auburn, it keeps you on your toes. You can't go anywhere without your cell phone right now because news could break at any time. How's it going down there, buddy?
It's an interesting time at Auburn. I'll tell you that much. You know, we're sort of in wait and see mode, and you know, Brian Harson's time at Auburn is sort of hanging in the balance right now.
Why are we at this point now? Kind of walk us back there. We had you back on in November. Auburn was coming off of that. It really was a weird loss. I mean, granted, I can't exactly remember the Mississippi State game. They were up big. They fell apart. And then obviously they came to Columbia the next week and got up 14-0. And there was some weird coaching decisions. They played Alabama well in the game in the Iron Bowl there. Obviously, the bowl game didn't go, but what has happened here from a 6-2 start that we sit here on February 7th? And as you just said, Brian Harsin it looks like on his way out.
It does, and it would be hard for him to stay at Auburn after all this. I think this is more less to do with his record on the field and more to do with possibly some off the field issues. And I don't have all the specifics there, other than maybe being verbally abusive to staff members and players. We'll see if that's the case. But I look at this as kind of like a giant HR case. They're running it through the president's office right now, doing their investigation. I know they'd like to talk to Brian Harsin, but he's in Mexico on vacation, so it's a little messy there. And if he doesn't want to talk to them, maybe they'll just make a decision and be done with it that way. But it is a giant mess, to go through this with a coach that's, been here for 14 months, who replaced a coach that, had been fired and gone through a really nasty or ugly search the first time. Talking about the Kevin Steele situation where him and assistant coach Rodney Garner kind of did a coup to get rid of Gus, thinking they were going to get the job, and then finding out about that, and ended up them not getting it, and then turning to Harsin. So it's been just a messy, a year plus 2 months for Auburn.
Well, what is the temperature of the fan base right now? Because obviously there were a lot of fans that just wanted him gone after last season anyway. They just said, this isn't going to work. We can tell it's not going to work. Might as well cut bait early. But then I also saw that weird little gathering at Toomer's Corner yesterday of fans in support of Brian Harsin. It looked like there were maybe 15 people out there. Like, how many people are actually in his corner right now?
It's interesting. I think fan-wise, he has his supporters. I think in some ways this has been framed by his people and, by conspiracy theorists, where we want to say that this is just some BOT members out to get him. And, I don't think that's really the case, although I think some Board of Trustees folks have learned what's been going on. And they probably do want to get rid of him now, but I still think this is just an HR type deal going through the president's office. But I think the fans will be really upset if he's let go, unless or until they understand everything that's going on. And I don't have all those answers, what he's done specifically yet. I just, I've heard a lot of things about, his attitude, his treatment of other people in his organization. And then the other thing that, is probably outside the decision-making process, but I think also you have to weigh in is, he was not doing a really good job recruiting, did not sign any players in the late period. And they had their first junior day, and the state of Alabama is really having a good year as far as prospects. And only 2 of the top 20 kids in state showed up for it. So that was kind of a blow there. So I think from a football standpoint, you could probably make a case that things aren't going too well. But, I think this is solely about, some things that went on off the field.
Again, Brian Matthews joining us this morning to keep us updated on the situation down in Auburn, because this is Brian, you've been around that program since 2001, but real quick, it kind of came to our attention, or more so to our attention, on I guess Friday morning after some stuff that occurred late Thursday night when some stuff I guess started coming. Were you aware of more of this prior to Thursday or Wednesday, or is this kind of escalated and it kind of just blew up on Thursday night?
Well, I believe it has been going on for weeks, maybe longer. I don't know the exact start date of this sort of inquiry that's been happening. And we had heard hints of it. And I think Harsin and his people knew it too, because we had heard a couple of different times that they felt like people were out to get them. And when I first heard that from a staff member, I thought, oh gosh, he's starting to blame the media for all his, recruiting and other issues. But no, it was a little bit deeper than that. It was what was going on, with them interviewing, his ex-coaches and players and other people around him. So, yeah, I think it did escalate, though, over the last week with everything that's going on in the program. Some nasty rumors came out that I have no reason to believe are true. And then I think people started digging, and we discovered that, there was a little bit more to the story.
You can follow him on Twitter at BMattAU is the way to do that. Works for the Auburn rival site, does a phenomenal job there. Brian, you've covered Auburn since 2001. You've seen the wild situation with Bobby Petrino. You've seen the stuff with Gene Chizik. You've seen a lot of stuff there at Auburn. Where does this rank up there in terms of how this has gone? Let's just go back to him being hired, because we followed it a little last year, but we were here in Columbia dealing with our own coaching search and Shane Beamer coming in, and there really wasn't an overlap in terms of, I guess, maybe to some extent, Billy Napier interviewing for both South Carolina and Auburn, but there wasn't an overlap. So Auburn was kind of on the outside. But you go back, and Harsin here seemed out of place when he was hired there. Walk us through now the last 13 months and just where this fits on the odd meter down in on the Plains.
Very, very high up there, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, it's messy, and it seems like Auburn has a hard time doing anything that's not messy. And while all this is going on in typical Auburn fashion, they've got an AD, another guy in General Burgess they brought in to, be a shadow AD over a few different programs because they weren't happy with Alan Green. They just appointed a new president that'll start in May. So, again, it's just sloppy. It's really sloppy in Auburn. But yeah, his hire was strange too. They're all set to name Steele and, hand it over to him, and then it sort of got out, and there was this campaign online called Stop the Steal, and
Heard of it.
that went to that failed miserably, and then it's almost like they panicked and went and took this complete outsider with really no connections to the SEC, and a guy who I can see where he did well in his interviews because he certainly speaks fairly well, but really has struggled since he's been here to recruit from the front and to really build relationships with people that matter.
Is it good for them? Because you mentioned what's going on while all this. You've got the AD situation, but they've also got the number one basketball team in the nation right now. Like, is this overshadowing the basketball team, or are people like relieved that the basketball team is doing so well and kind of taking some attention away from this situation?
I don't think it's overshadowing basketball. Maybe it is a little bit of distraction there, but people are all in on this basketball team. They really are. They're packing out Auburn Arena. They're going on the road and packing out other arenas, when they get there. Although I don't think that'll be the case in Arkansas tomorrow night. But I don't think it's had any effect so far. But it is typical Auburn to have, two completely opposite things happening at the same time, and people having to deal with it.
Before we let you go, just the final thoughts, timeline. What are you today? It's 7:19 down there for you, 8:19 up here. You just mentioned Harson is in Mexico. I think that's
strategically vacationing.
Brian, you agree? That's the way to handle things from now on. If you feel like your job's in jeopardy, just run to another country and say like, "I'm sorry, I'm on vacation. I'll be back in a few days." But what do you think is the timeline on this situation?
Well, I think they would like to sit him down and speak to him and have him answer, to some of these, I guess maybe not, I don't know if charges is the right word, but allegations. But, I don't know that that's going to happen. And I feel like this is a situation that needs to be resolved quickly. So I would be surprised if it stretched another 24, 48 hours. But when I say surprised, I've already been surprised multiple times during this. So, sit back and we'll see how it goes.
Real quick, if they make a change, does it become a national search? It feels like it's hard now on February 7th, could be February 8th. Do you think they promote somebody from within and say, okay, we got to go this direction? How do you see this playing out for Auburn with a coaching search if that's the direction they have to go?
I think it would sort of be a national search, but I think, some guys that would pop up right away would be Hugh Freeze. At Liberty, Jeff Grimes, former offensive line coach. I think he's offensive coordinator at is it Baylor?
I think he's at Baylor now.
BYU. Yeah. And maybe some former Auburn players, could figure in that too at other SEC schools. I think they'll probably have an idea because while all this is going on, there's certainly members of the BOT that are already reaching out to different people and places. Because that's just what they do. They can't help but meddle into things like this. So they'll have a lot of candidates, and we'll just see how that sort of the twist and turn that are coming up in that way too.
Good luck, buddy. I've done stuff like this before. You got to have a phone charger pretty much everywhere you go now. That cell phone. There was a time in life when I would do something like this, and I was more terrified of going to the grocery store without my cell phone than I was of going dressed. I know how that business can be there when you're trying to cover something like this and keep up with the news. Good luck with that, and we'll look to get you back here in the next few days or next week to just kind of recap how everything goes down.
Yeah, got to take those fast showers, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that phone goes in. It's a wild situation there when you're trying to cover it. Good luck to you.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Take care. Brian Matthews of Auburn.sports.com, the Rivals Network there for the Auburn.
Awesome if this ends with Hugh Freeze as the new Auburn coach.
then you feel like seriously, if that's what happens,
That would be
you feel
awesome.
there would be no way for me to say Auburn didn't hit a home run.
I guess, yeah. Why not?
Like that would be the way.
And this is the way to do it because, if you have a national coaching search with plenty of time, you say, okay, well, the SEC had time to tell us that, they don't want him. But, hey, we rushed the search. This was the only guy we could hire right now.
You would feel like Auburn hit a home run in that situation. And on that side of the division now with Brian Kelly coming in, Texas A&M recruiting the way they are, whether Jimbo Fisher can turn that into anything, I don't know. Obviously, Lane Kiffin there with Mississippi. We know what's going on with Alabama. I mean, Hugh Freeze, you gotta sell out to win in that division, and Auburn's not above selling out and completely going all in. We'll see if they do. We'll keep you updated.
Veteran move also by Brian Harsin, just hanging in Mexico. Hopefully he didn't pick up the international plan too. So all you got to do is DM him on Twitter through hotel Wi-Fi or something like that. No phone calls.
Keeps going down to the hotel lobby each morning like, hey, I'm going to stay one more night. Just put another one on the tab. Put another one on the tab. It's probably on Auburn's tab to begin with. We'll continue talking about that. We'll get back into some NFL discussions. A good text message question on the NFL that Patrick will probably want to answer regarding Jim Harbaugh and what may have happened with Minnesota. We'll get back into a few other topics. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. Oh, there's probably going to be a lot of big parties come Sunday afternoon. Some of them may be at your house. The question is your house nice and clean? Is it ready to host guests for a big football game where you're going to have lots of food and cheering and all kinds of excitement? If not, get Zero Res on the phone today. Don't wait around. Right now with Zero Res, when you mention my name, Bill Gunner at 107.5 The Game, you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for $119 plus a free hallway. Give them a phone call, 803-262-4020, or you can book online, ZeroResColumbia.com. You want people coming to your house for the big Super Bowl party, and you want to be the MVP of that big game. So right now, again, mention my name when you call Zero Res, 803-262-4020. All you got to do is say Bill Gunner at 107.5 The Game, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet clean for $119 plus a free hallway. Again, you can call them on the phone, 803-262-4020, or you can book online, ZeroResColumbia.com. Whether you spell it backwards or forwards, Zero Res, it's the right way to clean. You can do it right now.
Proud to be the lawyers our clients depend on during their toughest moments. I'm Jason.
We have the experience and passion you need when you need it most.
Samuels Reynolds. True injuries, true lawyers. 779-4000.
Hey, I'm Roy Finley.
And I'm Dana Finley, owners of AAA Heating and Air.
If your unit's living on borrowed time, replace it now with AAA's best deal of the year.
Get an instant rebate of $1,500 plus 0% financing with no money down for qualified buyers and a 15-year parts and labor warranty.
This offer won't last. Call AAA today for your $1,500 savings and 0% financing. Call 677-1500.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Aiken-Cochran, As Miss America, I know that taking care of yourself is important. Part of taking care of your health is knowing if you're at risk of type 2 diabetes. Prediabetes is serious and puts you at risk for developing type 2 diabetes. 90% of South Carolinians who have it don't know they have it. Visit inittogethersc.org. Take an online test to find out your risk and join a diabetes prevention program. Brought to you by the Diabetes Action Council of South Carolina.
Visit the South Carolina Military Museum on One National Guard Road, featuring one of the state's largest military collections of equipment, firearms, tracked vehicles, artillery, and more. The new Battery Bay is now open. Admission is free. For more information, go to scmilitarymuseum.com or stop by One National Guard Road from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Saturday.
See you at the South Carolina Military Museum.
When the kids turn unholy, Harrelson's Own keeps my patience divine.
Life can be chaotic, but Harrelson's Own CBD helps keep you calm through any storm. We make every bottle of Harrelson's Own from 100% organic CBD, hand-harvested right from the farm. Our nano-emulsified technology makes it so your body absorbs it immediately. So you start to feel it in seconds, not 60 minutes. It's actually one of the fastest-acting CBDs on the market today. Some people take it for general well-being. For me, it just makes everything about my day a little better.
It helps me relax. It helps me be there with my kids. Give your life a boost.
So to sum it all up, you're going to feel the benefits quickly, love the way it feels, pay a fair price, and you're going to thank us for it. Give Harrelson's Own a try, from our family to yours. Go to harrelsoncbd.com to order yours now. harrelsoncbd.com.
If you have tax problems and want to end the frustration of dealing with the IRS, grab a pen and take down this number. Hi, I'm local attorney John Ecton with the Ecton Law Firm, located right here in the Midlands. Let us show you what it takes to solve your tax problems once and for all. The first step, which can be one of the hardest, is to take action. Do something. Call me, set an appointment, and meet with me in person. Your first visit is completely free and confidential, and I'll show you how to take control of the problem. So if you haven't filed your tax returns for years or are facing IRS wage levies, bank levies, or tax liens, call.
Eight 8:32. Just switched over. 8:32 on a Monday morning, February the 7th. Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrett, Jen Jensen, as we roll through final about 23 minutes of our program. Anything you've missed, you can go check out on the 1075thegame.com podcast page. And so far today, you've missed John Whittle We've been talking about South Carolina basketball, obviously, and he gave his thoughts on that, an 81-57 loss over the weekend to Tennessee here at Colonial Life Arena. Also, John Whittle covering South Carolina baseball. One more weekend to go, one more baseball-less weekend to go before the Gamecocks take the field over at Founders Park. Not ranked in the preseason top 25, didn't even earn any votes, but we'll continue to talk with Whittle and get updates on the baseball program and how they are coming along. But you can go to 1075thegame.com, click on the podcast tab at the top, click and listen to John this morning as he gives you an update on the scrimmages this past weekend and how South Carolina performed. So you can go check out that. Also, in the previous segment, Brian Matthews with Auburn's Rivals.com website. You can go back and listen to that. Jen will get that up for you. But breaking down the Auburn situation there and what is transpiring on the Plains, it sounds like, Patrick, they're just looking to get Brian Harsin out. That it's just he was an odd hire to begin with. Go back and listen to the whole interview if you can, because it is so typical of Auburn, who is just, they can't get out of their own way. They have these periods, they win championships. I can't say that they're a bumbling dumpster fire of a program, certainly as it stands today. Yeah, but who's to say they don't hire Hugh Freeze next week? And then within 2 years, they're not playing in the college football playoff. Like, that would be so typical of Auburn. That was, yeah.
With the transfer portal and the way college football is right now, you're right. Hugh Freeze could come in there, turn things around, destroy the transfer portal next year, just crush it, and they can be a contender in 2 years. It absolutely could happen that way. So, as much as they're always a disaster and a train wreck, and it really is so fitting that this is happening with their football program while Bruce Pearls led their basketball program to the #1 spot in the nation for the first time in their history and got a lifetime contract, and things couldn't be going better on the basketball court, but just couldn't be going worse in the football field.
There was, it's a wild situation. Go to, again, 1075thegame.com. Click on the podcast tab at the top, and you can listen to that. You can also go and check out anything Jen puts them out on her Twitter account. We usually try to retweet them. You can go to Jen Jensen Morse. She does a fantastic job putting out all our interviews and segments from the morning. So you can go to Jen's Twitter account at Jen Jensen Morse to catch snippets and interviews from today's episode here. Monday morning. There was some NFL coaching news over the weekend, and let's just start with the news that didn't happen last week, Patrick, because I think this is a good question. I don't have an answer. John from Orangeburg says, guys, why do you think Jim Harbaugh was turned down for the Vikings job? You got an answer for that, or?
In the process, he wanted to have a big influence on who was selected, who was acquired in free agency, what contracts they would keep. So I think they just wanted to kind of try and kind of start something new. They hired a young GM, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, who's an analytics-driven guy. He's kind of looks at the game from a new way. I think they want him to be able to pick their head coach, which is why it feels like Kevin O'Connell is going to be the leading candidate. He's young. He's probably not going to try too much to pick the personnel. They'll have a hand in it. Sure, they'll work hand in hand. I think they just want to go the young route and have a young up-and-coming GM paired with a young up-and-coming coach that can just kind of drive this thing forward. So I don't think it's as much about Jim Harbaugh not being a good coach. It's just about they don't want that kind of coach. They don't want someone who thinks they know too much.
Other news from the weekend, and I like this move. The Houston Texans are in talks with Lovie Smith about potentially becoming the next head football coach of the Texans. Now, Lovie Smith, Jen's probably got feelings about Lovie Smith because of his time with the Bears. He did lead them to a Super Bowl. Obviously, Rex Grossman was the quarterback of that, and I think if you could get,
too nice.
if you could get Rex Grossman to a Super Bowl, you probably deserve a lot of praise. He did coach at Illinois the last few years and set a good foundation. Brett Bielema able to take that this year and run with it a little bit. But I like this move, Patrick, if they do hire Lovie Smith, because I feel like that's a guy who can connect with Deshaun Watson. If you're the Texans, you got to do kind of anything you can right now to hold on to Deshaun Watson and then hope he gets through his legal issues. And it feels like Lovie Smith may be able to do that. And the word out of Houston is if Lovie Smith is hired, If Lovie Smith is hired, he will bring in Pep Hamilton to be the passing game coordinator and offensive. I think it's offensive coordinator there for the Texans, and that might be actually enough to keep on Deshaun Watson. You might actually be able to turn the tide and build something around Watson.
Possibly. I mean, if that's the plan, I guess it's as good a plan as any. I think Lovie Smith is a good coach. I mean, he got fired after a 10-6 year in Chicago. His last year in Chicago. You don't hold Tampa Bay against him because that was just a train wreck of the organization for a long time until Tom Brady came, basically. So I think he's a good coach. What was gained by this past year? I mean, why? I'll never understand, why did you fire David Culley for making the team better than they were ever expected to be? What is Lovie Smith bringing that you felt David Culley wasn't? I know that they, according to all the reports, they really wanted Josh McCown. Like, they really want to hire Josh McCown, but it's just too early. And they think that he's going to be a great coach one day, but, it's too early to pull the trigger. So if that's their thinking, they just don't like the optics of hiring Josh McCown right now because he's never coached before. Why didn't they just keep David Culley and let him coach for 2 more years or 1 more year? And if you think Josh McCown is the next guy, let him go take a coaching job somewhere else and hire him the year after or 2 years after when he's actually got some coaching experience. It just, whatever's going on there doesn't make any sense to me.
I'm going to be ultra positive guy here and just hope and assume. Now, look, Deshaun Watson still has a lot of legal hurdles he's got to clear. So I don't know how much you involve Deshaun Watson in any discussions pertaining to the future of your organization. But if it were me, if I was in that spot, I would be including him to some extent, hoping that he can get out of his legal issues, because I don't really want to start over looking for a franchise quarterback. I've got one on the roster that likely, if he can play, is a top 5 quarterback in the league. And if he says, hey, I like these 2 guys, if he comes to me and says, you know what, I'm not sure David Culley's the guy for me, if I still want to be out, then maybe you consider making that move. If he says, if Deshaun Watson, again, and I would, if it were me, I would have him involved in some way, shape, or form. Now, maybe I'm not listening to him this time. Last year was the time to listen to him before you knew about all the allegations and you were hiring David Culley. That was when you really wanted to listen to him. And
I think that ship's probably sailed because, I mean, there's plenty of Texans fans that are now saying, hey, we're in a much better position than we expected to be 12 months ago with Davis Mills as a 3rd-round pick actually playing pretty well. Like, we're going to be able to get some picks back. We have finally pretty much cleared the wave of Bill O'Brien trading all of our picks away for terrible players, getting rid of all of our talent and leaving us with no picks. They're now going to have their picks back. They're going to be able to actually kind of build this team. And if you can build around a cheap, very, very cheap, not even 1st-round cheap, like a 3rd-round quarterback, that is a ridiculous salary to be able to build around. With Deshaun Watson's $40 million versus whatever Davis Mills is making, he's probably making like $700,000 or something like that. That is such an advantage to be able to build a roster with 0 money basically committed to the quarterback position. I just don't even know if they want to move to or want to keep Deshaun Watson. I feel like they're probably going to trade him for 3 first-round picks or whatever they can get, and it seems like Miami's that ultimate destination, and Miami might be in a situation where we've got Mike McDaniel now, an offensive genius who they've just hired. Maybe that's attractive to Deshaun Watson now. Maybe it says that, or if they just listen to Mike McDaniel and he says, I don't want Tua Tagovailoa, the Dolphins will finally listen to him because he's a new head coach, and it just feels like everything's lined up for Deshaun to end up in Miami.
It could very well happen. Again, a lot to follow there. The NFL, it'll be an interesting week. Super Bowl going on. Obviously, the Brian Flores news still very fresh from last week. You continue to monitor that. Now you got the Texans looking to make their hire. A lot going on here with the NFL, and so certainly it's something to continue to monitor and see where it goes as we go into, again, opening night of the Super Bowl. So you'll get some media sound from there. We'll continue on this week. Coming up Thursday, we'll catch up with our own quarterback guru, Perry Orth, who will join us, and we'll break down the Super Bowl and what he sees. We'll also catch up with Brian Edwards, a Vegas Insider, on Thursday for all the prop bets and looking at the line and over-under for this coming weekend. So we've got plenty to get into there as well as we roll through the week regarding the Super Bowl. And I liked our conversation regarding what this game means to Matthew Stafford, because you hope that Joe Burrow, this isn't the last time we see him on the big stage. But Troy weighing in on the Buford Lending live stream, winning a Super Bowl should not be consideration for the Hall of Fame. Dan Marino is one of the best of all time, but he never won a Super Bowl. I don't know if it's consideration for Hall of Fame.
Well, it's part of the process.
Marino's career was so good that
Right.
you didn't need the Super Bowl. Is Matthew Stafford's so good that the culmination of a good career with a Super Bowl throws you in there? I think that's the question. Because Dan Marino's career is, like Troy says, is top 5. I think Dan Marino's career.
But that's a ridiculous comment to say that winning a Super Bowl should not be part of the consideration. What do you mean? It all should be about stats? It's the ultimate goal of football is winning. If you say that it's not the end all be all, okay, I understand.
The question is do you think Matthew Stafford's career without a Super Bowl is good enough to get him in?
I think it's an interesting debate. His numbers certainly say so. So if you think if you're saying you shouldn't consider a Super Bowl as part of the process, what are you considering? Strictly stats? Then yeah, he's the first ballot Hall of Famer. His stats are going to be ridiculous. But is he a product of inflated numbers? I think so. He's part of an inflated passing era. Yeah, so you have to factor the Super Bowl into it to some regard, but the stats are going to be there and the Super Bowl is going to be there.
We'll continue talking about that because the inflated numbers thing is interesting given where he was playing at for the previous about 9 years is something to mention. Let me remind you, we've got the Spring Golf Open, the 2022 107.5 The Game Spring Open Friday, March 18th at the Windermere Club in Blythewood. 10 a.m. shotgun start, but we're doing things a little different for the Spring Open. 2-person Captain's Choice teams, $200 per team. We'll have great raffle prizes. Closest to the pin, $1 million hole sponsored by Buford Lending, plus free breakfast and lunch. All entries get a free golf membership until March 31st. You can go to 1075thegame.com for registration info. Again, it's the 1075 The Game Spring Open, March 18th at the Windermere Club in Blythewood. Go to 1075thegame.com for registration information. It's a 2-person Captain's Choice event, $200 per team. Great raffle prizes, closest to the pin, $1 million hole sponsored by Buford Lending. Plus, you can't beat this, free breakfast and lunch. Again, go to 1075 The Game for registration info. We'll come back and wrap up the Monday morning episode of the early game, 1075 The Game.
This is Gamecock basketball head coach Frank Martin, and you're listening to 1075 The Game, WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia.
It was a very busy weekend. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of football on, and of course, there was none. We're not counting that game that took place, but there was golf. There was being at Austin's 2 soccer games, his 1 basketball game. There was Olympics on. There was so many things on. I needed great nights of sleep to deal with everything, and with a Sleep Number bed, that is exactly what I got. You need to do the same. Right now, proven quality sleep is indeed life-changing sleep, which starts with the Sleep Number adjustability. And you don't want to miss the ultimate Sleep Number event weekend sale. Save 50% on the Sleep Number 360 limited edition smart bed plus special financing subject to credit approval. Minimum monthly payments required. See sleepnumber.com for details. But this deal ends today. So what are you waiting on? Get over to a Sleep Number store and check out this great Sleep Number weekend event. Again, 2 stores to choose from. One in Irmo on Harbison Boulevard across from Buffalo Wild Wings. The other in Columbia, 2 Notch Road across from Sand Hills Mall. You can visit them on the web, sleepnumber.com. I needed a great night of sleep this weekend, so I put that Sleep Number setting on 50. And that's exactly what I got, a great night of sleep. Find out for yourself. Make the switch to Sleep Number today and find out what a great night of sleep is truly like.
1075 The Game traffic from the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center. Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. shepherdsglass.com.
Still a few accidents to let you know about there out on the highways. I-26 eastbound there at Bush River Road, an accident. Also towards Chapin, Dutch Fork Road, just east of Three Dog Road. Reimer Pond Road at Longtown Road, we do have a report of an accident there. And in downtown, Texas Street at Olympia Avenue. The rain will be off and on today, then it'll be clearing out tonight. And looking for a high today only of 43, but we get up to 57 tomorrow, up to 64 on Wednesday. Just have to get through this rainy, chilly day. It's 37 right now at 1075 The Game.
Sponsored by South Carolina Education Lottery. Cash Pop is the new numbers game from the SC Education Lottery. Pick one number from 1 to 15, match and win a cash prize. It's really that easy. At $1, $2, $5, or $10 per number pick, the game fits in everybody's price point. For more information, go to sceducationlottery.com.
Hey, if you've got a hole in your roof or you need a whole new roof, you need to call Mid-State Roofing, 356-1919. For nearly a quarter of a century, Mid-State Roofing has established its reputation as the leader in the roofing industry. Whether it's above your head or at your feet, perhaps a leaky foundation, 356-1919 is the number to call for all your roofing and waterproofing needs. The quality and craftsmanship of a Mid-State roofing system are tops in the industry, especially commercial and industrial roofing systems. If you own or you're in charge of a large building, warehouse, or industrial facility, then you're in charge of that roof. And at some point, a roof is going to need some attention. So the number to call for advice, service, results, and a commitment to customer satisfaction is 356-1919. See all that Mid-State has to offer when you click on midstateroofing.com. Tell them, Mid-State twins.
If you have a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek.
356-1919, midstateroofing.com.
Hi, everybody. This is Woody Wyndham here to talk about Pioneer Tree Service. Pioneer Tree Service has more than 4 decades of helping homeowners maintain and manage trees on their property. Their skilled crew offers customized solutions that match your needs and budget. Tree trimming and tree removal can be dangerous. You need to trust the people that are doing the job. Before attempting to remove limbs, call Pioneer Tree Service for a free quote. They remove limbs safely and make sure that future growth is directed away from potential trouble areas such as roof lines and driveways. Cutting down trees takes more than a chainsaw. Even branches can weigh thousands of pounds, and their removal must be handled with care. Pioneer Tree Service offers a full complement of state-of-the-art heavy equipment, from track hose to bucket trucks to safely remove trees and stumps from your property. And no matter where you live, the Gantt girls can get there. And I want you to call them at 803-794-8253.
At Church's, we're doing 10 pieces of our crave-worthy comfort made spicy or classic. That's 10 legs and thighs packed with bold flavor. That's how we do value. So you can do the Church's 10 starting at $10.99 deal. Church's, bringing it down home flavor.
Offer valid at participating locations.
Are you in the market for a diamond but aren't sure what to get? For example, do you buy a mine diamond or are you thinking about a lab-grown one? Hey, this is Scott with Traditions Fine Jewelers, and we want to help you decide, because at Traditions, we carry a large selection of both mined and lab-grown diamonds. A mined diamond is classic. It was formed in the earth millions of years ago, and for many people, the idea of getting something discovered and cut just for you is so romantic, it can make the start of your forever together ring unforgettable. A lab-grown diamond is just what the name says. It was grown in the laboratory and has all the same characteristics as a mined diamond. It's graded just like a mined diamond, and the FTC has even ruled the lab-grown diamonds should be called diamonds, because that's what they are. What's great about lab is that you'll find you can get a bigger, brighter, whiter diamond for the same price. And this month, we've got 5-year interest-free financing on all lab-grown diamonds. Traditions Fine Jeweler staff is ready to help you find the perfect diamond just for you, mined or lab-grown. Traditions Fine Jewelers in Lexington and our newest location at Sand Hill, where the Midlands get engaged.
See website for details and our 2-month subscription.
I don't know if you can say that you're saying he's just not a Hall of Fame QB to begin with, but I don't know if that's the argument. That's a different argument than just winning a Super Bowl.
I mean, I don't know what your argument is then, because statistically, he's going to be one of the 10 greatest of all time. If that's what you care about,
all right,
if you're
but
just
now
straight
you're
up
saying
saying
it's an overinflated passing era. So
I agree. So if the debate, I mean, I don't necessarily know that he deserves to be the Hall of Fame. It's just if you say Super Bowls don't matter, or one, I think that's just crazy. But two, what does matter then? I mean, I will agree if you want to say if you were top 3 of your era, then you can be a Hall of Famer. I would if we want to go by that, then sure. But that's really not going to be the case. I mean, every quarterback that starts for 15 years is going to be a Hall of Famer at this point. Matt Ryan's going to be a Hall of Famer, probably. Stafford will probably be a Hall of Famer. Phillip Rivers is going to be a Hall of Famer. They're just going to compile numbers for so long that they'll have to be there. Eye test. All right. Okay. There has to be something to go off of, though. There is something to be said for longevity.
There's Frank Gorza. Yeah. Right now, 8:52 a.m. Right now, you can call in 803-404-6100. We'll get one caller to be on our 107.5 The Game Big Game Big Board. It's the big board. You've heard of the squares. We've got one of those. It's called the Big Game Board. 803-404-6100. We'll take caller number 4 right now for a spot on our Big Game Board. Multiple prizes, including a pair of tickets to Elton John at Colonial Life Arena on April 20th. You can win a pair of tickets to the Red Hot Chili Peppers at Bank of America Stadium on September 1st, a 3-night stay at Kiowa Island. So multiple prizes. You can give us a call right now. We'll take caller number 3, 803-404-6100. If you get that spot, it will be posted, or we will post everything on Facebook and Twitter on Sunday morning before this week's game. So we've got a spot available right now that Jen will take, 803-404-6100. If you don't get that one, keep calling in today. We will be giving spots away throughout the day and on this program as well throughout the week as we count down to the Super Bowl. And Patrick, we're pretty much out of time this morning. We've covered a lot of topics. Big thank you to John Whittle for joining us at 7:30 to talk Gamecock basketball and baseball. Big thank you to Brian Matthews for joining us for what I thought was a very informative segment on what's going down at Auburn. And again, Auburn's a wacky situation to begin with, and Brian has covered them for 20 years, and he ranks this situation up there. I encourage you to go back and listen to that interview at 1075thegame.com on the podcast tab, or go to Jen's Twitter account at Jen Jensen Morse, Morse, to check that out. But there's a conversation breaking out on the Buford Lending live stream that we'll get into more this week. And it pertains to Matthew Stafford, and Troy is making his points. We don't really have time to get into it, but it's interesting as to what this Super Bowl means. Quarterbacks, it always means something huge, right? Like nobody goes into a Super Bowl and is like, man, if Odell Beckham Jr. doesn't win this game, he's not a Hall of Famer.
People don't talk about LaDainian Tomlinson's lack of a Super Bowl,
right? Yep.
But they're going to talk about Matthew Stafford.
They will. The quarterback is that position. And what this game means for Matthew Stafford, what it means early on in the career for Joe Burrow, will be interesting as well. We got all week to talk about it. J.C. Sherbert tomorrow morning as well at 8:05 to talk about the South Carolina tight end coach and if they've hired one or what direction they may be going. We'll talk recruiting as well. Perry Orth, Brian Edwards from Vegas Insider on Thursday. We got a lot to get to throughout the week.
Last week of football.
Don't say that. It's just sad to say.
It's sad to know.
It is sad to think about. You have a happy day, though. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
All right.
Anthony, y'all have a great day.
Yes.
Troy, we'll pick up that conversation tomorrow. Larry,
this is just
bring some information about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
To dumb it down to Megatron and Cooper Kupp is crazy. Ferrari. The Lions were horrendous, and the Rams are loaded with stars. But
all kinds of discussion.
Yeah, you do you. Everybody, we'll see you tomorrow.
Take care. Stay warm.